What's the matter? Ethan Ford asked calmly, his expression unreadable. Frank Zane turned his head, signaling Lana Cole to bring out the documents. Lana's smile was a bit stiff, but she complied, pulling a folder from her bag and handing it to Ethan. Ethan took the file and flipped through it casually. Frank continued from his side. The settlement from Sterling Tech has been finalized at $500,000. It'll be transferring to Horizon Systems account in installments soon. This is the new agreement regarding the split. Oh, and Ethan, buddy, take a look at the distribution breakdown at the end. Ethan hummed a non-committal response, turning to the back page. Sure enough, there was a breakdown of how the $500,000 pie was to be sliced. The percentages and amounts for Star City, Southbridge, and Westford were all listed. Ethan swept a glance over the numbers. Julian York was taking the lion's share with $230,000. Southbridge Traders followed with $200,000. Between the two of them, they were pocketing $430,000. Westford Electronics was left with a measly $70,000. Based on their previous verbal agreement, Ethan's share should have been far more than this, at least $150,000. The atmosphere at the table suddenly grew heavy. Everyone's eyes were fixed on Ethan. The vibe was eerie. Julian smoked his cigarette in silence, watching Ethan out of the corner of his eye. Frank smiled slightly, breaking the silence first. Ethan, my friend, any thoughts on the proposal? Ethan casually closed the folder, shrugged, and smiled. No sots. I'm just glad the deal is done. Both you and Julian put in a lot of effort to make this happen. I approve. Ethan's words caused a ripple of surprise around the table. Lana, in particular, looked at him in disbelief. She hadn't expected his reaction to be so placid. He acted as if this lopsided distribution was perfectly natural. In her estimation, Ethan should have expressed some dissatisfaction, maybe even complained. She expected him to eventually accept it under pressure from Frank and Julian, but only after some resistance. But this was completely different from what she anticipated. Ethan was too calm. Looking at the slight smile in Ethan's eyes, Lana felt a sudden chill run down her spine. A creeping fear rose in her chest, and her fingers trembled slightly. If this young man wasn't incredibly open-minded, then he was terrifyingly deep. Frank was also surprised and couldn't help but ask, "You've thought this through, Ethan?" Ethan chuckled. "What's there to think about? You two did the heavy lifting. It's only right you get the bigger shares." Hearing this, Frank secretly breathed a sigh of relief. It turned out Ethan had a generous side after all. He was very pragmatic. It seemed Ethan had managed his expectations well, and this wouldn't affect their relationship. "Ha ha, you're a straight shooter, brother. Come on, let me toast you." Frank laughed heartily, raising his glass. Julian also stood up, raising his glass to Ethan. Working with a young talent like Ethan is truly worth it. The atmosphere instantly relaxed, returning to its previous liveliness. Everyone was smiling, except for Wayne Tank Turner. His smile was stiff, and his eyes held a flicker of unhappiness, but he kept his head down, focusing on his food. Halfway through the drinks, Ethan asked Tank to go buy cigarettes, then excused himself to use the restroom. The two left the private room together and walked to a seating area in the lobby corner. Tank pulled out a fresh pack of cigarettes, handed one to Ethan, and gritted his teeth. "Ethan, that deal is absolute bullshit. They're robbing us blind. Frank, that old bastard, he takes us for idiots." "Ethan, how could we agree to that? We agreed on 30% minimum. That should be at least $150,000. Frank is bullying us." "Fuck." Tank was cursing under his breath, lighting his own cigarette and sitting heavily in a chair, his face full of resentment. Ethan lit his smoke, listened to the rant, then patted Tank's shoulder calmly. "Tank, do you think getting angry helps? If you were in my shoes, what would you do?" Tank blew out a cloud of smoke, furious. "I'd throw the contract in his face, ask him what the hell he means, and demand he stick to the agreement. Worst case, we flip the table and walk." Ethan sat beside him. "Okay, you got guts. But after you flip the table, have you thought about the consequences?" Tank started to speak, but the words stuck in his throat. He froze. He took a drag, the anger in his eyes slowly fading into realization. "Ethan, I get it. I was wrong." Tank laughed bitterly, sounding helpless. Tank finally understood. If they burned bridges with Frank right now, Westford's supply chain would likely snap. Frank had secured exclusive city-level distribution rights for many components that used to belong to Sterling Tech. To build high-end custom PCs in Chicago right now, you couldn't bypass Frank's company or the network of suppliers close to him. That was Frank's greatest advantage. In a way, he held a monopoly. Even though Ethan had implemented a diversified supply strategy for West Ford, and Calvin Trent had done a lot of work in that direction, Frank's Southbridge traders still accounted for 30 to 40% of their supply. If they cut ties with Southbridge, West Ford's retail and e-commerce operations would take a massive hit. And if they flipped the table, they might face Frank entering the retail market personally as a competitor. All of this would be disastrous for West Ford. Realizing this, Tank's anger vanished, replaced by rationality and a sense of helplessness. Seeing him calm down, Ethan smiled and patted his shoulder. Tank, look at it this way. We didn't expect much from the Sterling Tech compensation anyway. Getting 10 or 20 grand would have been a windfall. Now we have 70,000. Isn't that great? It's free money. It's called expectation management. That money is projected income, not actual operating profit. It's extra. Even if it was 20 or 30 grand, I'd be happy. Tank turned to look at Ethan in astonishment. That actually made sense. Ethan leaned back in his chair, flicking the ash from his cigarette. So, Tank, look on the bright side. Tank gave a wry smile. You're right, Ethan, but do we just swallow this insult? Frank is clearly colluding with Star City to pocket more cash while squeezing us out. We just let it go. I don't think Frank is fit to be our partner. He's too greedy. Ethan exhaled a slow stream of smoke, the gray haze blurring his features for a moment. Tank, I never said I was just going to let it go. Ethan. Tank paused, waiting for the rest. Ethan crossed his legs, tapping his cigarette, his voice calm. Frank is betting that I won't flip out over this. He's not wrong. I won't fight him on this issue at this specific time. And he's been planning to enter the retail market for a while. This is him testing me, tapping me on the shoulder to see if I'm soft. But that doesn't mean I'm a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. Since he dares to step on me, I'm going to break his legs. Tank's chest burned with boiling blood as he looked at Ethan with pure adoration. He believed that aside from Grace Miller, no one could ever get the upper hand on Ethan. Anyone who dared to mess with Ethan Ford would eventually pay the price. That was the iron law Tank lived by. Ethan, so what's the play? Tank asked, cracking his knuckles. Now isn't the time. When the moment is right, I'll let you know. What you need to do now is stay calm, Ethan instructed. Tank nodded solemnly. Got it, Ethan. I'll keep my cool. Ethan chuckled, patting him on the back. All right, let's head back. We still have to wear these fake smiles. It's a necessary skill for a businessman. Back in the private room, Lana looked at Ethan's empty seat, feeling a bit uneasy. She turned and whispered to Frank. Frank, do you think Ethan really accepted the proposal that easily? Frank smiled and countered. What reason does he have not to? The fact that he accepted it so graciously makes me think higher of him. It shows the kid is steady and understands the reality of the situation. I told you he's smart. He'll accept it. Him accepting it easily is better than him throwing a fit and then accepting it. Lana pondered for a moment before asking, but won't he hold a grudge? Frank waved his hand dismissively. It doesn't matter if he holds a grudge. Am I going to give up hundreds of thousands of dollars just because he might have hurt feelings? Lana, be realistic. Lana froze, instantly understanding. It wasn't that Frank didn't know Ethan might be resentful. It was that in the face of actual profit, other people's feelings were worthless. In the face of profit, personal relationships were incredibly fragile. Just then, the door opened again. Ethan and Tank returned, with Tank holding a carton of Parliament cigarettes. Sorry to keep you two waiting. Ethan laughed heartily. No wetties. Come, let's keep drinking. Brother, I'm happy to be drinking with you again today. Here's to your success. Cheers. Frank stood up to toast, radiating warmth, his smile incredibly affectionate. Cheers. To you too, Frank. To success. Ethan raised his glass, and they drained their drinks together. Laughter and chatter filled the room once again. The next morning, the sky cleared, and the sun peeked over the eastern horizon. Ethan woke up groggily, rubbing his throbbing head. They had drunk until 10 p.m. last night, and he had passed out the moment his head hit the pillow. He checked his phone. It was only 7:00 a.m., but he had to get up for orientation boot camp in half an hour. Judging by his condition, he needed another half day of rest. Ethan typed out a text message to his RA, Derek Vance, asking for leave. Usually, students just had to notify the RA, who would then inform the teachers and drill instructors. The process wasn't complicated. A simple heads-up usually sufficed. That was how Ethan had done it before. After sending the text, Ethan was about to close his eyes and go back to sleep when his phone buzzed with a reply. It was from Derek Vance. Ethan, I'm only accepting written leave requests now. If you want time off, write a formal note and leave it on my desk. Ethan frowned as he read the message. Since when did Derek start pulling rank like this? After thinking it over, Ethan dragged his body out of bed. He'd just wash up and attend the training. A moment later, the other 3 roommates stirred. "Morning, Ethan," Jason Yerk mumbled, his head drooping, looking utterly drained. Ethan wiped his face with a towel and asked curiously, "What's wrong with you? You look like the poster child for kidney failure." Jason gave a bitter laugh and waved his hand. "Don't ask. These past few days, I think I'm actually dying." Ethan twitched his lips. "Because of that Sue Ellen girl? Or Daisy?" "Neither. It's Lily," Jason sighed. "Ethan, no wonder you're drained." "I really deserve it," Jason lamented. "I don't want this. I just want to be friends, pure platonic friends, but they always try to drag me to a hotel room." Ethan rolled his eyes at him. The 4 of them washed up and went out to forage for food. After breakfast, another day of boot camp began. Ethan gritted his teeth and made it to noon, then quickly ate and took a nap to recharge. After a short break, the training continued. Marching, physical conditioning, the works. Since the boot camp was ending in 2 days, there would be a marching parade on the final day. So, after dinner, they had to continue practicing the goose step. Night fell. The playground echoed with chants of 1, 2, 1 as class phalanxes marched past the podium. Morale was high, movements crisp and uniform. Marching drills showed the most obvious progress. Compared to the chaotic mess at the start, the synchronized movements were now pleasing to the eye. "CS freshman cohort, assemble here," drill instructor Sergeant Jones shouted. The entire class marched to the center of the field. "Sit down," Jones said, a smile finally appearing on his face. Hearing the command, the students hurriedly sat on the grass, groaning in relief. After standing all day, most legs were giving out. Jones clasped his hands behind his back and paced in front of the class. Seeing their lack of energy, he shouted, "I know you're all tired today, but we need to push a little longer. While we rest, let's relax a bit. Does anyone have a talent? Come up and perform. Dancing, guitar, anything works." Jones scanned the crowd, but the students just looked at each other. No one volunteered. In this era, college kids who were performance-ready were rare. Jones shook his head, looked at Ethan, and smiled. "Since no one is stepping up, how about you, Ethan?" Front and center. Over the past few days, Jones had learned that Ethan could play guitar and sing well. Since no one else volunteered, he called on Ethan. Ethan had wanted to rest, but hearing Sergeant Jones, he smiled helplessly. "Yes, Sergeant." Ethan walked out of the formation to stand beside Jones. Jones patted his shoulder and grinned. "Come on, kid, look alive. Performing won't kill you. Go for it. I believe in you." Facing Jones' encouragement, Ethan smiled. "Yes, sir. Thanks for the vote of confidence." The two had built a good rapport during the training. Jones had boldly approved Ethan's leave requests several times, thanks in no small part to Ethan's supply of cigarettes and sodas. According to Ethan's networking strategy, it was essential to build good relationships with the rule makers in any environment. Jones fetched a guitar and handed it to Ethan. Ethan sat on the grass and strummed a solo intro. The clear sound of the guitar rang out over the spacious football field, drawing the attention of students from other classes nearby. "Chloe, look, someone's playing guitar over there." "Hey, isn't it your boy Ethan?" Chloe Jones nudged Grace Miller, teasing her. Grace's face blushed. She pursed her lips and said, "Is it? Well, I suppose I can grace him with my presence and take a look." Before she even finished speaking, Grace was already sprinting over. "Chloe." Grace squeezed through the crowd to the front, seeing Ethan sitting on the grass, casually strumming the guitar. The clear notes echoed in the night air above the playground. At this moment, Ethan was the undisputed center of attention. Ethan looked up, saw Grace in the crowd, and smiled slightly. "I knew I loved you before I met you. I think I dreamed you into life. I knew I loved you before I met you. I've been waiting all my life." The sweet, acoustic melody of Savage Gardens, "I Knew I Loved You," flowed from Ethan's magnetic voice, instantly infecting the crowd with a romantic, joyful atmosphere. The melody was catchy, and people couldn't help but sway along. Grace listened to Ethan sing, her eyes curving into crescents, her head bobbing to the rhythm. "That stinky Ethan sings so well." In the crowd, 2 sneaky figures lurked, Luke Brooks and Ryan Yates. "TCH, what's so great about singing?" Luke said sourly, practically eating a lemon. "Yeah, exactly. Show off. But he does sound really good." Ryan agreed, but then immediately started swaying his hands to the beat, caught up in the music. "Luke." Luke elbowed him hard, looking at him with disappointment. "Why are you humming along? Don't forget, we are the Avengers Alliance." All right. Stand firm." Ryan realized his mistake and laughed awkwardly. But internally he added, "I can't help it, it's really good." Luke didn't want to see Ethan stealing the spotlight, so he rolled his eyes and came up with a plan, whispering in Ryan's ear. Huh? Make Ethan embarrass himself? Will that work? Ryan asked doubtfully. Hey, of course it will. You just have to do it, Luke said seriously. Ryan rolled his eyes at him. If it's so dangerous, why don't you do it? Luke patted his shoulder solemnly. Because you are the best candidate. You are brave. And brave. In an instant, Ryan was moved. Ryan grabbed his hand excitedly. Luke, you really understand me. Ethan stood up from the grass, singing and playing as he walked toward Grace. There's just no rhyme or reason. Only this sense of completion. And in your eyes, I see the missing pieces I'm searching for. I think I found my way home. The crowd was mesmerized, soaked in the music. Many were waving their hands in the air. From a distance, it looked like a personal concert. Under the gaze of everyone, Ethan walked step by step toward Grace. Grace froze, but as Ethan got closer, her little heart beat faster and faster. What is this stinky Ethan doing? I'm dying of embarrassment. So many people are watching. Grace's face was bright red, but she was rooted to the spot. And, deep down, she started to feel a sliver of anticipation. The next moment, Ethan stopped in front of her, ceased playing, and reached out his hand. Gracie, give me your hand. A W what for? Nothing. I just want to hold my girlfriend's hand. As soon as Ethan said this, the crowd erupted. An uproar. This guy is bold. Holy crap. That's so sweet. What? The handsome guy has a girlfriend? I am devastated. Oh my God, isn't it the new campus queen? I am jealous. Amidst the commotion, Grace's face burned crimson. She looked shy, but she placed her hand in Ethan's. Ethan chuckled, pulled her to the center of the open space, looked at her deeply, and continued the song. I knew I loved you before I met you. I have been waiting all my life. As Ethan's voice faded and the guitar notes lingered in the air, the song ended. Grace was smiling sweetly, but tears were welling up in the corners of her eyes. Tears of joy and emotion. It seemed that listening to Ethan sing was a blissful thing. Stinky Ethan making me cry again. Clap, clap, clap. A moment later, thunderous applause erupted. That was amazing. Idol. Idol. I love you. One more. Please. Encore. Encore. The crowd shouted enthusiastically, begging for another song. Facing such passion, Ethan smiled. All right, one more. This one is Can't Help Falling in Love. For the girl I love most. Saying this, Ethan turned to look at Grace, his eyes full of doting affection. The crowd melted at that look. Another uproar. So much love. That look, it's so sweet. Boo-hoo. I want to be in love too. Jason York couldn't help but sigh. Ethan's charisma is off the charts. Kevin Keg, O'Connor said enviously. I want to learn guitar too. Jason glanced at his belly. I think you should lose the 7-month pregnancy belly first. Keg, deh. Ethan held the guitar, standing in front of Grace. His fingers danced across the strings, plucking out a beautiful melody. As the guitar sounded, the scene fell silent. Everyone's gaze was locked on the two of them. Wise men say, only fools rush in. But I can't help falling in love with you. Ethan's low, magnetic voice rang out. The listeners' eyes lit up. Drill instructor Jones got goosebumps on the very first line. Student Ethan sings really well. Can't Help Falling in Love is a simple but deeply emotional song. The melody isn't hard, but singing it with moving sincerity is. Jones thought Ethan nailed it, perfectly interpreting the emotion of the song. It was shocking. Grace wore a sweet smile, her eyes curved like crescent moons. Standing prettily in the center, she showed no sign of awkwardness anymore. In this moment, she had blocked out everyone else. In her eyes, the whole world was just her and Ethan. Take my hand. Take my whole life to her. I can't help falling in love with you. This deep confession slowly came to an end as Ethan's voice faded. Ethan looked into Grace's eyes, smiled slightly, and said, Gracie, I love you. Grace smiled too. She took 2 steps forward, stood on her tiptoes, and kissed him on the cheek. Stinky Ethan, I love you too. Hundreds of people witnessed this scene. The crowd went wild. Fairy tale romance. I'm so envious. This is the kind of love people dream of. Meanwhile, in the crowd, Luke and Ryan watched, dumbfounded. The two of them grabbed their hair simultaneously and fell to the ground, shouting in unison. Oh no, no. Luke stared slack-jawed at Ethan and Grace in the center of the field. It hurt. It hurt too much. Seeing Grace kiss Ethan felt like a sledgehammer smashing into his chest. Ryan, if we don't act now, when will we? Luke shoved Ryan, snapping him out of his trance. Ryan shook his head, came back to his senses, gritted his teeth, and said, "Right. I'm going in." He couldn't stand seeing Grace treat another man so well. It was unbearable. His internal vinegar jar had shattered. Now was the time for action. Ryan stood up, took a deep breath, and suddenly sprinted toward Ethan. "Idol, I'm your biggest fan." Ryan intended to make Ethan embarrass himself right there, even if he had to sacrifice himself to do it. Hearing this, Ethan turned around and saw a figure rushing at him with open arms. He instinctively sidestepped. His foot just happened to hook around Ryan's leg. Crap. Ryan grabbed nothing but air. Losing his balance, he pitched forward and face-planted straight into the dirt, eating a mouthful of grass and mud. Fuck, that hurts. He felt like his jaw was about to dislocate. Seeing this, Luke slapped his forehead in disappointment. This guy, how could he miss that? Useless. Ethan glanced over and asked with a puzzled look, classmate, what are you doing? But Ryan was too dazed from the fall to respond, only managing a muffled groan. Sergeant Jones walked over, laughing. Haha, Ethan, you must be a craze fan. All right, that's enough resting. We need to continue training. Break it up, everyone. Under the drill instructor's urging, the students from other classes reluctantly dispersed. Once most people were gone, a humiliated Ryan finally stood up. "HM, it's you." Ethan recognized the guy immediately. It was the same student he'd run into outside the girls' dorm. Clearly another one of Grace's suitors. Cough. "Hey, Ethan. Hey, Grace." "Stinky Ethan. Who is he?" Grace asked, puzzled. Ethan shook his head. "I don't know either." Ryan, degree. "Is my presence that low?" Cough, cough. "You too. My name is Ryan Yates." Ryan introduced himself. "Oh, don't know him." Ethan looked enlightened for a second, then shrugged, indicating they weren't acquainted. Ethan, you'll know me sooner or later," Ryan declared boldly. Just then, Sergeant Jones walked over. "Who can help me move the spring equipment?" No one made a sound. Moving equipment was the worst. A moment later, Ethan raised his hand. "Report, sir. Student Ryan Yates here has time. He can help. He's very enthusiastic about helping." "Ryan, what the hell does that mean? Are you screwing me over?" Jones turned to look at Ryan and smiled. "Oh, is that so? Are you really that helpful?" Ryan couldn't refuse, so he braced himself and said, yes. Grace, standing nearby, couldn't help but giggle softly. "Stinky Ethan is so bad. But I like it, hee. All right then, you're up. Follow me." Jones waved his hand and turned to leave. Ryan turned back to glare at Ethan with hatred. Ethan, listen to me. Thank you. Thank you so much. This is absolute sabotage. Fuck. Ethan grinned, unbothered. "We're all classmates. No need to thank me. Don't mention it." Ryan nearly spat blood out of anger. "This guy's a dog, a total animal." "Fine, just you wait. I won't give up on the campus queen." Ryan left fuming, his stomach full of fire. Grace found his appearance hilarious and covered her mouth, laughing. "Stinky Ethan, your skills in being a jerk have truly reached the highest realm. You are one with the jerkiness." "Thanks for the compliment." Ethan smiled smugly. An hour later, boot camp ended for the day. Ethan collapsed on the ground, exhausted from the day's training. Keg had been lying down for ages. Seeing Ethan on the ground, he rolled over to him and asked weakly, "Ethan, buddy, hitting the snack bar later? Grab 2 cups of noodles." "Noodles? Do I look like someone who just eats noodles?" Ethan gave him a disdainful look. "No, you'd add sausages. 2 of them." Keg teased. Ethan rolled his eyes at him. "Get real. I'm meeting Gracie at the food street later for a late-night snack." Really? "Ethan, please bring back some loaded fries." "Please," Keg pleaded. "Me, I want some too. Loaded fries with extra cheese." Jason shouted, rolling over from the other side. Even the usually silent Sam Tucker raised his hand. "I want fries too. No extra cheese." "Ethan, are you guys playing poker or something?" Jason grinned wickedly. "Poker? We're robbing the tycoon." Ethan laughed. All right. As the dorm leader of 602 and your food-fetching father, how can I watch my children starve? Don't worry, I'll bring it back." Jason. "Keg. Sam. Underster. Ethan, you bastard, taking advantage to double down." Jason cried out, laughing. Of course." Ethan scrambled up from the ground. Just then, Grace came skipping over. "Young Master Ford, let's go. Late-night snacks. I'm starving." "Done. Let's roll." Ethan smiled and nodded. Holding hands, the two left under the friendly gaze of Jason and the guys. "Ethan, don't forget the fries," Keg shouted, afraid Ethan would focus too much on dating and forget his bros. "I know," Ethan responded without looking back, waving his hand. Once they left the football field, Grace switched to holding his arm, swinging it as she acted cute. "Young master, I want greasy diner food. I want a milkshake." When she acted spoiled, her voice took on a soft, sticky quality that could melt bones. Ethan rubbed her head, smiling dotingly. Okay, whatever you want." Suddenly, a middle-aged woman in a white shirt walked toward them. "Student Grace Miller, wait a moment." Grace looked closely, quickly let go of Ethan's hand, and said awkwardly, Ms. Joy, hi." The middle-aged woman was Ms. Joy, the student council advisor. She had seen them holding hands intimately, but was used to it. She teased, "Huh, no need to be nervous. I'm actually looking for Ethan." Ethan paused. "Looking for him? Ms. Joy, what can I do for you?" Ms. Joy looked at Ethan and asked kindly, "Ethan, would you be interested in being the lead dancer for the freshman welcome ball?" "What? Lead dancer?" In an era before high-speed internet dominated every waking moment, college students' extracurricular activities mainly consisted of basketball, reading, roaming the streets, and dancing. Dance halls were popular entertainment venues, favorite spots for young couples on dates. The love for dancing seemed ingrained in the culture. Many restaurant private rooms came equipped with a TV and sound system for karaoke and dancing after meals. Later, outdoor restaurant KTV models emerged, where tables were set up outside with equipment for guests to sing and dance. Universities had plenty of dances: the freshman welcome ball, student council mixers, club-organized parties, and even class dances. Of course, majors like computer science and engineering were exceptions, nicknamed the monasteries because they were mostly male. Organizing a dance, there was just asking for awkwardness. For new students, the most important social venue was actually the freshman welcome ball. It was a prime way to meet friends and network with upperclassmen. The dances usually involved simple ballroom steps, just a basic 1-2-3 rhythm. Though simple, Ethan wasn't interested in the request to be lead dancer. He politely declined, "Ms. Joy, I'm not really good at dancing." "Oh, you can learn if you're not good. It's simple. Grace knows how. Can't she teach you? If you don't take the lead, should I arrange a different partner for Grace?" Ms. Joy smiled. Ethan froze. "Huh, a new partner?" Ethan immediately turned to Grace, wanting to ask what was going on. Grace covered her mouth and giggled. "Ms. Joy asked me last time if I wanted to participate in the freshman ball. I said yes." Ethan's expression changed instantly. He turned back to Ms. Joy. "Ms. Joy, I think I'm perfectly capable of this task. Lead dancer it is. I will lead with style. I will lead with spirit." Ms. Joy seemed to have anticipated his agreement and wasn't surprised. She nodded. "Then it's settled. Learn well. I have things to do, so I'll head back first. Ethan, Grace, practice hard. I'll be checking your homework later." Grace smiled and responded, "Yes, Ms. Joy." After Ms. Joy left, Ethan turned back and asked in surprise, "Gracie, why do you want to be the lead dancer? Don't you know Ms. Joy is the student council advisor?" Grace tilted her head and asked back, "I know. Does that have anything to do with this?" Ethan asked, "Of course. I've applied to join the student council. And I plan to become a student council officer." Grace stated her plan. Ethan finally understood. "I see. Gracie, you're so calculating." Grace pinched his waist and rolled her eyes. "Are you praising me or insulting me?" "Out. Definitely praising you." Ethan yelped in pain, quickly correcting himself. "Oomph." Grace turned her head, not buying his excuse. "By the way, Gracie, why the sudden interest in the student council?" Ethan asked curiously. "Joining the student council makes it easier to apply for scholarships. Plus, if you contribute, you can get extra credits," Grace said bluntly. Ethan smiled. "Makes sense. And the student council has a wide network. There are definitely benefits. I not only support you, but I'm going to join too." Grace looked delighted. "Really? You want to join too?" "Of course. With my ability, becoming the head of the student council shouldn't be a problem." Ethan laughed confidently. "TCH, I don't believe it. Is it that easy? You're just bragging." Grace pouted, expressing her disbelief. "Don't believe me? Then I'll show you." Ethan puffed out his chest. "We'll see. I'm hungry. Let's go get food." Grace pulled his hand toward the campus exit. The next afternoon, Ethan and Tank carried a basket of fruit to the hospital to visit Henry Payne. As soon as they arrived at the ward door, they heard a girl's voice inside. Ethan stopped and looked through the glass window in the door. He saw a female nurse changing Henry's dressing. From his angle, he could only see the nurse's slender back and fair profile. Her profile actually looked a bit like a movie star. She was quite beautiful. Then, the nurse's crisp voice drifted out. "Your wound is healing pretty fast. Looks like you have a constitution for taking stab wounds. Henry, you never make a sound when I change your dressing. Are you just that tough? Doesn't it hurt? Henry, do you want the truth? Of course. Henry, actually, when you change it, it really hurts. Then just lie next time. Henry, all done. I'll tie a bow for you. Hope you heal up fast. Henry, thank you. The beautiful nurse skillfully tied the bandage into a cute bow, looking satisfied. Done. At this moment, neither person in the room knew that two faces with lecherous grins had appeared in the glass of the door. Holy crap. Ethan, looks like Henry's luck has turned, Tank whispered enviously. Yeah, didn't expect Henry to have this kind of fortune. Ethan chuckled. That nurse is hot. Who is she? Do you know, Ethan? Tank turned to ask. I don't know, but we'll find out in a second. Ethan laughed. Saying that, he pushed the door open. He walked into the ward and greeted Henry. Henry, feeling better? Ethan, I'm much better. You guys don't have to visit so often. It's a hassle for you to run back and forth, Henry said, looking embarrassed when he saw Ethan. He felt bad that he hadn't handled the job well, and it caused trouble for Ethan. Ethan set down the fruit and waved his hand. We're family. Don't talk like an outsider. You just focus on healing up. We need you for the internet cafe. The beautiful nurse suddenly interjected. Even after he's discharged, he needs to rest for a month before working. I don't need to rest, and it's not physical labor, Henry replied. He was desperate to get out and work. Lying in bed was driving him crazy. Ethan looked the beautiful nurse up and down and asked, Miss, what should we call you? The nurse didn't look up, focusing on organizing her card. Valerie Vane. HM, you're Vane too. Ethan looked surprised. Could this girl be Victor, the Reaper, Vane's sister? She looked about 10 years younger than Victor. Valerie looked up and saw Ethan, seemingly unbothered by his surprise. You're Ethan Ford, right? Valerie asked. Yes. You wouldn't happen to be. Ethan guessed, but she cut him off. You guessed right. But I don't like mentioning my brother's name outside, Valerie said, her expression cooling a few degrees. After speaking, Valerie looked at Henry. Her icy expression melted into something warmer. Dressings changed. Rest well. I'm leaving. Ring the bell if you need anything. Okay. Henry nodded woodenly. Valerie pushed her card out of the room. Once she was far away, Tank sat next to Henry and asked excitedly, All right, you sly dog. You quietly picked up such a beautiful girl. What? I didn't, Henry replied in shock. Tank grinned wickedly. Come on, still pretending? With that attitude just now, she's definitely interested in you. Hearing this, Henry's face showed a rare trace of embarrassment. He gave an awkward laugh, but his eyes were happy. He did have feelings for Valerie. He thought she was very special, different. Over the past few days, he felt Valerie was a very independent, opinionated, and unique girl. Ethan patted his shoulder, shaking his head with a smile. Henry, don't celebrate too early. Do you know who her brother is? Who? Victor Vane. HM? What? Henry's eyes widened. His expression one of shock. Vic, the Reaper. Ethan smiled. Yeah, she's Victor's sister. A look of difficulty appeared on Henry's face, and he fell silent. After the incident, he had learned from Ethan exactly what kind of person Victor Vane was. Pursuing Victor Vane's sister. This wasn't just a matter of difficulty anymore. It was a matter of survival. After a long silence, Henry exhaled heavily and smiled bitterly. Is that so? His thoughts were complicated. He grew up in a broken home, lacking love, and didn't know how to love someone. Plus, he knew he was clumsy with words. How could someone so tongue-tied chase a girl? Forget it. Don't force it. Let nature take its course. He comforted himself silently, but he was merely finding an excuse for his own inferiority complex to escape. Ethan saw his expression was off and comforted him. Don't overthink it. Whatever decision you make, I support you. Henry forced a smile and nodded. Tank leaned in and continued asking, Has Valerie been changing your dressing personally all these days? Yeah, Henry replied. Continuing, she said, Someone asked her to take special care of me. I thought it was you, Ethan. I didn't expect it to be Victor. Ethan looked surprised. While drinking last time, he had heard Victor mention it in passing, but he didn't expect the man to actually take it to heart. Despite Victor being a rough-looking guy, his mind was surprisingly detailed. Nice going, kid. You're really living the life. Served by such a beautiful girl. You should be secretly laughing. Tank said enviously. Henry rolled his eyes at him. I don't even want to be here. The internet cafe work has been delayed too long because of me. Ethan shook his head and laughed. You just rest and heal. The cafe is almost done. Once the loan comes through and we buy the machines, we can open. I'll follow up on those things. Henry froze. Ethan, is there news on the loan? Of course. Should be sorted in a few days. Ethan smiled slightly. After work hours, City Development Bank, Metro Branch. The bank's main doors were closed. Other staff had left for the day, but the lights were still on in the credit management department manager's office. Inside, Spencer Vance stood up and handed cigarettes to Liam Tate and Leonard Miles before sitting back on the sofa. Liam, are the documents for Westford Electronics done on your end? Spencer asked as he lit his cigarette. Just about. Should be able to stamp them tomorrow. Mr. Vance, do you want this fast-tracked or slow-walked? Liam asked for Spencer's attitude. Spencer frowned and waved his hand. Fast is better. Finish it tomorrow, then give all the materials to me. I'll do the final approval and submit it. Liam paused and asked, then regarding Mr. Ford, should we give him a heads up beforehand? And do we still ask for that? Spencer glared at him. Give the heads up, but don't mention that. Didn't you see his relationship with Victor Vane? You dare to ask for a kickback? Even I don't dare take it. The memory of the last incident was still fresh. Seeing how close Ethan and Victor were, if they tried any funny business, they might offend Ethan. They couldn't touch this money. Liam laughed awkwardly and replied, right. Mr. Vance is right. I understand. Spencer turned to Leonard Miles. Leonard, speed up the accounting procedures too. Sure, no problem, Leonard replied politely. Spencer thought for a moment and added, also, Leonard, later on, invite Mr. Ford to a casual dinner in your name. Say it's to thank him for his help last time. Remember, in your name. Saturday morning, Ethan was at the Internet Cafe arranging the placement of tables and chairs, overseeing the decoration and the entry of other furniture. The cafe we're making must have a top-tier environment. We need a tea room, a lounge area, and a whole wall of manga in the lounge, Ethan said to Tank, walking into the rest area. Ethan, doing it like this. I feel like it's more of a clubhouse than an internet cafe, Tank asked in surprise. Bingo. That's the atmosphere we want. High class. Otherwise, wouldn't it be a waste of my meticulous design and renovation? Ethan retorted, Tank, if we're going to do it, we do the best internet cafe. Environment, service, once our reputation is out, how can those smoky, dingy holes compete with me? Look, I even designated a smoking area here. And the whole cafe has the best fire safety facilities in the industry. Safe, beautiful, clean. That's the first feeling customers will have when they walk in. 2 words will be left in the customer's mind. Comfortable. Ethan smiled confidently. The design, layout, and decor style of the cafe came entirely from his own blueprints. Combining advanced scene marketing concepts similar to the Westford Electronics store, this was an advanced concept for this era, completely crushing the market. Tank chuckled and nodded. True. As soon as I walked in, I felt. It doesn't look like an internet cafe, but it really gives a comfortable vibe. I trust your vision, Ethan. Our cafe will definitely be a hit. Ethan patted his shoulder and smiled. Team leader Liam from the bank called me. The loan will be sorted next week. Once the process clears and the funds drop, we'll go buy the equipment immediately next week. We'll buy from the state distributor. Ethan added the last sentence deliberately. Tank heard the implication and asked, what about Frank's side? Ethan took out a pack of cigarettes, handed one to him, and sneered. Frank? Frank Zane isn't on our path anymore. Tank was still holding a grudge over the settlement split. Hearing Ethan say this, he knew there was a plan. Taking the Parliament cigarette, he asked excitedly, Ethan, is Westford going to negotiate for distribution rights? Ethan nodded, lighting his own smoke. We have to. The supply can't be choked by Frank's hand. But changing suppliers is a major move. We have to plan it step by step. Can't rush. Ethan had already asked Professor Hall to contact the state distributor, Kajia Company, and initial contact had begun. Using this massive order, they had a chance to secure the city-level distribution rights for Chicago, displacing Frank. Ethan smoked, watching the falling leaves outside the window. He suddenly realized autumn had arrived. Suddenly, the phone rang, interrupting his thoughts. He picked it up and saw it was Lana Cole calling. He looked surprised. Usually, if Frank wanted to find him, he would call directly, not have Lana do it, unless Lana was sending gifts on Frank's behalf. Ethan, who is it? Tank asked curiously. Secretary Cole. Ethan replied, waiting for 2 more rings before answering, his cold expression instantly transforming into a warm smile. Hey, Secretary Cole. How are you? Ethan greeted cheerfully. Hello, Mr. Ford. Are you busy? Am I disturbing you? Lana's laughter came from the other end, her tone very polite. No. What business do I have to be busy with? Besides, even if I were busy, I have to take your call, Secretary Cole. Ethan joked. Mr. Ford, you're teasing me. I don't have that much face, Lana said coquettishly. You absolutely do. By the way, what can I do for you? Ethan laughed. Mr. Zane would like to invite you to the company personally to discuss supply matters. Is Mr. Ford free right now? Lana revealed her true purpose. Hearing Frank wanted him, Ethan frowned. Frank didn't call personally, but had Lana do it. What did that mean? Oh sure, okay. I'm free. I'll head over in a bit, Ethan replied. But, Secretary Cole, I want to ask first, is there an issue with the supply? The other end was silent for a moment before Lana spoke. Mr. Zane might need to reorganize the supplier situation. Her tone was hesitant, but she tipped Ethan off. Finally, she added, it shouldn't be anything too critical. This sentence was said on Frank's behalf, trying to stabilize Ethan, hoping the two could continue to cooperate well. Ethan smiled fastly. Is that so? All right, I got it. Thanks, Secretary Cole. I'll be there in about 2 hours. Just a moment ago, Ethan said he'd be there in a bit. Now, he gave a specific time because he had changed his mind. Okay, I'll await Mr. Ford at the company, Lana laughed. They exchanged a few pleasantries before hanging up. Ethan, why is Frank suddenly looking for you? Tank asked anxiously. Ethan snorted coldly. Reorganizing suppliers. Probably wants to adjust the supply quotas. Adjust quotas? Does that mean he's reducing our goods? Tank panicked. Westford's retail and e-commerce platforms relied on components for revenue. Reduced supply would hurt profits. Don't know yet. We'll find out when we talk later. Tank, come with me. We'll stop by and buy some gifts for Secretary Cole. This time, the gifts need to be a bit higher class. Ethan, what are we getting? Tank asked. Ethan thought for a moment. Perfume, designer bag, jewelry, anything works. Price around $1,000. Not too cheap, but not too expensive. Tank, you give it to her. Say it's a return gift for the watch she sent last time. And since she sent me quite a few things, it's just my way of saying thanks. Remember, do not mention Frank. It's strictly a personal thank you gift. Insist she takes it. Tank memorized Ethan's instructions and nodded heavily. Yes, Ethan, I understand. Southbridge Traders. Lana opened the office door and saw Frank sitting at the tea table drinking tea and smoking. The office was filled with smoke. Frank was humming a tune, his face flushed red. He looked to be in a good mood. How did it go? Did you call Ethan? Frank looked up, flicking ash as he asked Lana. Yes, Frank. I called him. He said he'll be here in about 2 hours, Lana replied softly, looking worried. Frank saw her concern and comforted her. Don't look so grim. I'm just talking business with him. Now that there are more suppliers, so many people asking for goods, I have to balance the bowl. I believe Ethan will understand. He's a smart man. Standing in my shoes, he'll definitely understand my difficulties. Lana forced a smile and hummed in agreement. But having been with Frank for so long, she knew clearly that these were just surface reasons. In reality, he was about to start putting pressure on Ethan. Lana, go organize the supplier demand files for me. I'll show them to Ethan later. Frank waved his hand, speaking gently. Okay, I'll go do that. Lana smiled forcibly, turned, and left, closing the door behind her. Standing at the office door, she took out her phone, wanting to dial a number. But her finger hovered over the button, unable to press down. She looked back toward the office door, eventually lowered the phone, sighed lightly, and walked away looking dejected. 2 hours later, Ethan and Tank arrived at the entrance of Southbridge Traders. Before entering, Ethan called Lana first. Shortly after, Lana came to the entrance to welcome them. Aha, welcome, Mr. Ford. Lana wore a gracious smile, though her pale face showed signs of fatigue. Hello, Secretary Cole. I was thinking of going straight in to see Frank, but I thought that might be inappropriate, so I called you. I didn't disturb your work, did I? Ethan greeted with a smile. Lana froze, catching the drift in Ethan's words, roughly implying there was already a rift with Frank. In the past, he wasn't this polite. Now, the courtesy felt distant. It seemed the young Mr. Ford also sensed something was off. Lana laughed awkwardly. Mr. Ford, you're joking. I do have work. My only work is specifically welcoming you. Please, Mr. Zane is waiting in his office. Ethan nodded, then chatted and laughed with Lana as they headed to Frank's office. At the office door, Ethan told Tank to wait outside. Lana pushed the door open, smiling. Mr. Zane, Mr. Ford is here. Aha, Ethan, my brother. Come in, sit down. Really sorry about that. I was just busy with something. Frank pretended to stand up from his desk, greeting him warmly. Ethan sneered internally, but maintained a warm exterior, going up to shake hands and exchange pleasantries. Lana closed the door and turned back to see Tank. She asked in surprise, Mr. Turner isn't going in? Tank grinned. Nah, Ethan and Mr. Zane can chat. Secretary Cole, why don't we chat? Lana had noticed the exquisite bag in Tank's hand earlier. Hearing Tank invite her, she had a guess. All right, Mr. Turner, please this way. Lana smiled and gestured. The two went to the lounge area on the balcony of the break room, where two wrought-tan chairs sat. They took their seats. Secretary Cole, Ethan said you sent him a lot of gifts a while back, and you've contributed so much to the cooperation between Westford and Southbridge. He's really grateful. This small gift was specially chosen by Ethan. Please accept it. Tank piled on the smiles, picked up the gift bag, and placed it in front of her. Lana looked at him doubtfully. This? I can't accept a reward without merit. I'm afraid I can't take Mr. Turner's gift. Those gifts were actually Mr. Zane's sentiments. I was just executing orders. Tank smiled nonchalantly. Hey, how could Secretary Cole have no merit? The seamless cooperation between Westford and Southbridge is to your credit. Besides, Ethan said this is a personal thank you. It's really just a small token of our appreciation, nothing else. Secretary Cole, please just accept it with peace of mind. Saying this, Tank opened the gift bag and took out an Estee Lauder cosmetic set and a bottle of Chanel perfume. Both were popular imported goods, quite expensive. Lana, who regularly read fashion magazines, recognized the items immediately. Her eyes flashed with delight. But looking at the two items, feeling they were a bit pricey, she hesitated and didn't reach out. Mr. Turner, these gifts aren't cheap, Lana whispered. She couldn't deny she was tempted, but she didn't want to accept them rashly. The price of these two gifts was worth almost her entire year's salary. Tank waved his hands repeatedly. Hey, Secretary Cole, it's not that expensive. Do you think with Ethan's current status, he'd give something worth only a few bucks? This really is just a token of Ethan's gratitude, nothing more. Secretary Cole, just accept it. Lana thought about it. With Ethan's current net worth, his gifts wouldn't be low-end. Fortunately, these gifts were just consumables like cosmetics and perfume. Accepting them should be fine. Then thank you, Mr. Ford and Mr. Turner. Lana didn't pretend anymore, smiling and accepting the gifts. Seeing this, Tank's smile grew wider, and he laughed loudly. Secretary Cole is too polite. Our two companies' close cooperation in the future will still rely on you. Meanwhile, Ethan and Frank were drinking tea and chatting. At first, neither went straight to the topic. Frank suddenly asked, Brother, does your company only do the Westford Electronics Store business? No plans to expand into other areas? Ethan played dumb. Other areas? Maintaining the status quo is good enough. How could I start other businesses? Even if I did, it would just be dabbling. The world is uncertain right now. Better to be careful. Frank poured him tea and said casually, Hey, I heard from Secretary Cole that your company is recruiting technicians at the talent market. Ethan's heart tightened. He didn't expect Frank to already be monitoring his company's recruitment. Oh, just trying to make some after-sales customer service software. Back-end data stuff. It's a trend. Ethan deflected. I said before, brother Ethan is so smart. In business, you're always a step ahead. Foresight, Frank praised. Ethan waved his hands repeatedly, laughing. Frank, don't mock me. I'm just following the tide. Frank took a pack of cigarettes from the table, handed one to Ethan, then lit one for himself. He put on a troubled look. Ethan, you don't know how much I envy you. Doing your own business, not having to deal with peers. I'm different. Recently, it's been annoying. I have to please the state distributor above and coax suppliers below. Being a city distributor isn't easy. Ethan narrowed his eyes and smiled. That means your business is good. If there was no business, you'd be free. Frank pulled a document from under the tea table and tapped it. Right now, bosses from other channels all want more goods from me. But I don't have that much stock. Where am I supposed to get it for them? It's a real headache. Tell me, they're all partners. I can't favor one over the other, right? On the surface, this was a complaint. In reality, it was for Ethan's ears. The implication was, I don't have much stock left. I have to reallocate the supply ratios. Your volume might get cut. Ethan naturally heard the meaning, smoking in silence for a moment. Before Southbridge absorbed Sterling Tech's partners, the supply was abundant. They had always given Westford the largest volume compared to others. Now that Southbridge had grown and had more partners, they wanted to cut Westford's supply. These were the surface reasons, the justifiable ones. But Ethan knew clearly in his heart that Frank didn't just mean this. He was sending a signal. Southbridge Traders was Westford's most important supply channel. Frank Zane could influence whether Westford made money or not. This was a warning shot. Ethan put on a look of difficulty and said, This. Frank, you mean Westford's volume needs to be adjusted? Besides, it's unavoidable. I hope you understand, brother, Frank comforted. But you don't need to be distressed. I have a method. In the future, we can cooperate and make even more money. Much more than now. Ethan asked doubtfully. Oh, what method? Frank moved his seat, sitting next to Ethan, putting an arm around his shoulder, and speaking earnestly. Equity. If we brothers work together, you have the channel market, I have the best supply. We could take the entire PC component market in Chicago, maybe even the state. Equity. Ethan put on a look of difficulty. Seeing his expression, Frank asked, What? Do you have concerns, brother? Ethan pondered for a moment before speaking. This matter is significant. I need to discuss it properly with the management team at the company. Hearing this, Frank's face instantly cooled a few degrees. He sat back in his seat, poured Ethan a cup of tea, and asked, So what is your intention? He was forcing Ethan to take a stance, to see exactly what Ethan's attitude toward their cooperation was. Ethan smiled slightly. Frank, you know me. I've always been timid in business. If I do it myself and screw up, that's on me. But if I partner with you and screw up, how could I face you? To be honest, I need to think about it carefully myself. This was clearly a stalling tactic, not directly stating whether he agreed with Frank's equity idea. Frank narrowed his eyes, staring at Ethan. He tapped the table, then suddenly laughed. All right then, it's a big matter. Think about it carefully, Ethan. As long as we collaborate, we can definitely build a great enterprise. Ethan raised his teacup in thanks. I still need to rely on your care, Frank. Come, I'll toast you with tea instead of wine. They clinked cups and drank, but their minds were in different places. Just then, the door pushed open. Lana walked in carrying a tray of snacks. Come, Mr. Zane, Mr. Ford, have some snacks. Lana walked gracefully to the tea table. She was wearing a business skirt suit. Under the skirt, her legs were wrapped in sheer pantyhose, shapely and full of mature charm, catching the eye. Ethan saw Frank's eyes drifting to Lana's legs and laughed inwardly. This old lecher probably just likes Lana's looks. Lana, go readjust Ethan's supply agreement. Draft a new one and bring it up, Frank ordered. Lana glanced at Ethan. Seeing him looking calm, she guessed they had already discussed these matters. Mr. Zane, how much should be adjusted? Lana asked in a low voice. Frank looked at Ethan and asked, Ethan, let's adjust the goods by 20% first. Spread it to other channel dealers. What do you think? 20%. In general channels, that wasn't much. But West Ford Electronics moved over $50,000 worth of components through Southbridge every month. The base was large, so 20% was significant impact. Frank stared at Ethan, expressionless. This was a beating and a warning, letting Ethan understand who held the initiative in the relationship. Ethan shrugged and smiled. No problem. I can't make things difficult for you, Frank. I have no objections. He said this easily and naturally, as if he had no complaints at all. It really looked like he was willing to make concessions for Frank, showing true friendship. I knew you were sensible, brother. Frank laughed loudly. Lana twitched her lips and whispered, Then I'll go organize the document and bring it in shortly. After speaking, she turned and left the office. 10 minutes later, she returned with the new agreement and handed copies to both men. Ethan read it carefully. Seeing no issues, he nodded. Okay, looks good. Frank extended his hand and smiled. Then let's sign. Sure. Ethan nodded. Both of them signed the agreement. Tank sat nearby, smoking alone, feeling depressed. He already knew the terms Ethan and Frank had discussed. Although he was mentally prepared, he was unhappy with Frank. But since they couldn't tear off the mask yet, he could only stew in his depression. Tank, give me one. After signing, Ethan turned to Tank and smiled. Tank sighed, shook his head, wondering how Ethan could look like nothing happened. He handed a cigarette to Ethan, then offered one to Frank. Ethan gave him an approving look, lit the cigarette, and said, Tank, we have a mobilization meeting at the store this afternoon, right? Tank heard the underlying meaning, an excuse to leave. All right, 5 p.m., just before closing. Tank checked his watch and responded. Frank tried to keep them. Hey, brother, don't rush. Work is never-ending. Come meet with me later. It's only 3 p.m. Ethan politely declined. Ideally, yes, but today really doesn't work. Another day, my treat. Frank kept a straight face. How can a man say he can't? We have to have a few drinks today. Lana, go book a private room at the Grand Monarch Hotel. Lana responded and was about to open the door when suddenly, it opened from the outside. A gorgeously dressed, wealthy woman appeared in the doorway. Frank Zane, get your ass out here. The woman was furious, her eyebrows raised, anger radiating from her. This woman was about 40, with phoenix eyes and thin lips. Her face was plastered with white powder, like spackle. Her cheeks looked maintained, but the crow's feet at the corners of her eyes were obvious. Her shout startled everyone in the office. Ethan glanced at her. From her demeanor and tone, he guessed this woman was likely Frank's wife. Frank was in trouble. The original wife had come to the company, and judging by her anger and the scene, it wasn't for anything good. Probably here to catch the mistress. Now, there was a show to watch. Honey, well, why didn't you tell me you were coming to the company? Frank looked panicked, jogging over while shooting Lana a look to leave. Lana's face was pale, but given her awkward position, she could only try to leave. She lowered her head to exit, but was stopped. Stop! The woman blocked her path, staring at her icily. Lana pressed her lips together, staying silent. You're Lana Cole, right? You're the one seducing my husband. I'll beat you to death, you shameless slut. The woman suddenly raised her hand and slapped Lana hard across the face. The slap was loud and crisp. Everyone froze, unable to react immediately. Before the first slap faded, a second followed, landing on Lana's cheek again. With these two hits, Lana's pretty face swelled up, blood seeping from the corner of her mouth. Just as the woman was about to strike a third time, Frank rushed forward to block her, grabbing her wrist. What are you doing? Frank's tone was guilty. What am I doing? You asked me what I'm doing? Good for you, Frank Zane. You cheat outside and still dare to protect this vixen. The woman's eyes were sharp, her tone aggressive, questioning Frank. Frank argued. What? What vixen? I don't know what you're talking about. Dare to do it, but not admit it? Think I don't have evidence. The woman pulled a stack of photos from her bag and threw them in Frank's face. The photos scattered on the floor. Ethan stole a glance. They were all intimate photos of Frank and Lana, holding hands shopping, hugging, walking in a hotel's arm in arm, all taken secretly. Seeing these photos, Frank looked like he'd been struck by lightning. He was dumbfounded. A moment later, he reacted, looking at the woman in shock and anger. You actually hired someone to spy on me? Facing Frank's shocked accusation, the woman, Wendy Zane, sneered. What? Did it? But afraid of being found out. Frank's face turned even uglier. After a moment, his expression changed, and he lowered his voice. Honey, can we talk about this at home? I have guests. His tone had softened completely. No, I have to deal with this vixen today, Wendy said, turning to glare at Lana, raising her hand to strike again. But before her hand could land, Lana caught it. You want to continue? Lana's eyes were teary, but she looked at Wendy without backing down. After speaking, Lana turned to look at Frank, pleading earnestly, Frank, even now, you won't come clean with her? You said you would divorce her. You promised to give me a lifetime of happiness. As she said this, Lana's voice choked up, tears sliding down her cheeks one by one. 3 years ago, she had twisted her ankle hiking and met Frank. Back then, he was just starting his business, spirited, warm, and sunny. He had taken meticulous care of her all the way down the mountain. From that day on, she had fallen hopelessly in love with this man. She gave up the chance to study further in Beijing, staying by his side without hesitation. The deeper she loved, the deeper she fell. One day, after they had held hands, she discovered Frank had a family, even a son. She was terrified, hesitant, and thought of retreating. But Frank told her with immense passion that he only loved her, Lana Cole, not the one at home. Frank promised her that in the future he would divorce and give her an official status, so they could be together openly. She believed him and waited for that day with a sense of guilt, waiting for the day Frank would come clean to his wife, Wendy. Now, that day had come. Although it wasn't how she imagined, Lana hoped Frank could stand up like a man and resolve this. She hoped Frank would take this opportunity to confess to Wendy and divorce. Lana looked at him with pleading eyes, but the only response she got was Frank's furious glare. What nonsense are you talking about? When did I ever promise you that? I'm telling you, don't talk rubbish. Frank glared at her. Lana froze. She was stunned. She stood there stiffly, her whole body rigid. She couldn't believe the words that had just come out of Frank's mouth. Ethan, watching from his side, shook his head secretly. This Frank, no backbone, dared to do it, but not admit it. However, he had expected this. How many mistresses actually made it to the top? No, Frank, you promised me. You promised me, Lana cried, tears falling like rain, grabbing Frank's arm. In this moment, she truly broke down. Stop making a scene. Frank raised his hand and slapped Lana across the face, sending her crashing to the floor. Frank turned to coax Wendy. Honey, listen to me explain, okay? Let's go back and talk. We can discuss this properly, okay? Seeing Lana slapped by Frank, a look of satisfaction finally appeared on Wendy's face. But she still glared at Frank. Yeah, Frank, at least you have a shred of conscience. But regarding this matter, I'm going to tell my dad right now. Wait to be dealt with. With that, Wendy turned and left. Don't tell Dad. Honey, Hearing she was going to complain to her father-in-law, Frank was terrified. His face changed drastically, and he chased after her frantically. After the couple left, the office fell into a deathly silence. Hank had been watching the drama the whole time. Seeing Frank's pathetic state, he almost laughed out loud. But seeing Lana sitting on the floor, expression blank, he couldn't laugh anymore. Ethan. Tank looked at Ethan. Ethan raised his hand, cutting him off. He walked over to Lana, crouched down, took a tissue from his pocket, and handed it to her. Secretary Cole, wipe your face. Lana looked up. Her face was streaked with tears, her cheeks swollen with a clear handprint. She looked incredibly haggard and desolate. Thank you. Lana took the tissue, wiping the blood from the corner of her mouth and the tears from her face. Ethan took out his pack of parliaments and handed her a cigarette. Lana accepted it mechanically, putting it in her mouth. Ethan lit it for her. Lana paused, saying again, "Thank you. You're welcome. If you need help, you could come find me." Ethan smiled slightly, then stood up and walked away. Lana watched Ethan and Tank leave the office, smoking, exhaling a stream of gray smoke. She sat paralyzed on the floor, smoking silently, letting the tears continue to fall. Outside the company, Tank walked and whispered, TSK. Secretary Cole got played by Frank. Truly pitiful. Ethan's expression was indifferent. Pitiful? I don't think so. Tank was stunned. Ethan stopped, pulled a cigarette from his pack, and said calmly, "She brought it on herself. She's not worth sympathy. People always have to pay the price for their choices. No one is an exception." Ethan Ford lit a cigarette, his voice calm. Since Lana Cole knew she was the other woman, knew that Frank Zane was a married man, and yet chose to stay by his side, this day was inevitable. She had chosen to forsake her morals for personal emotion, and her current downfall was entirely of her own making, completely unworthy of sympathy. Wayne Tank Turner was stunned for a moment before asking in a low voice, "So, Ethan, you weren't sympathizing with her just now?" Ethan let out a soft chuckle. "Do I look like I have the time for that? It's just that she's still useful to us. Starting today, there's an unbridgeable rift between her and Frank. Isn't that very useful for us? Sometimes love turns into hate. The world is full of men and women whose love has curdled into hatred." Wayne finally understood, grinning broadly. "Ethan, you're a genius. I get it now. Let's go. We're heading back to the office to prepare for our contact with Kite Systems. While Frank is dealing with his domestic headache, we need to lay out our board and get ready." Ethan waved his hand. "You got it." The two left the tech tower and returned to West Ford Electronics, using the weekend to catch up on work. Monday morning, Grace Miller and Chloe Jones arrived at the Student Government Building. Today was the day Grace would officially register to join the Student Council. "Gracie, do you really want to join the Student Council?" Chloe asked, looking a bit worried. "Yeah, why? Do you think I can't handle it?" Grace asked back with a smile. "Oh no, that's not it. I just heard that the politics in the Student Council are pretty intense. I'm worried you might not be able to navigate it," Chloe said solemnly. "Politics? Navigate it? What are you talking about? I don't understand a word of that." Grace rolled her eyes playfully. Chloe glanced toward the Student Government Building and said, "Sigh, I've heard that the infighting for power and profit inside is pretty serious. Everyone wants to climb the ladder just to have a shiny spot on their resume. Think about it. The Student Council has over 1,000 members, but there are only a dozen or so mid to high level officer positions. The president and vice president spots total only 4 people, and elections are once a year. Imagine how many people are fighting tooth and nail for those spots. You're joining just to earn some extra credits, right? But you'd have to at least become an outstanding officer or even a department head to possibly get those. There aren't many spots each year, and grabbing one isn't easy." Grace waved her hand dismissively with a laugh. Who cares? As long as I do my job well and finish my tasks, won't that be enough? Hard work always pays off." Grace was brimming with confidence. Chatting as they walked, the two soon entered the Student Government Building. It was a 2-story brick building, an older structure that used to serve as faculty offices. After the school built the new administration tower, this building was left for the student council departments and for organizing recreational activities. Grace arrived at the organization department office. Inside, there was only one guy with his head buried in his work, sketching or writing something. Grace knocked on the door and asked softly, "Hello, is this the organization department? I'm here to apply for the student council." The guy didn't even lift his head, his voice stiff. "Go sign in at the book by the door first. If you have a reference, write that down too. Once you're done, put it on the desk. I don't have time to approve it right now. Come back this afternoon to pick it up." Okay. Grace pursed her lips, feeling the distinct lack of welcome. Chloe stole a glance to see what the guy was doing and discovered he was actually drawing a comic book at his desk. Busy my foot. He was slacking off. Who does this guy think he is, putting on such bureaucratic airs? Grace went back to the door to fill out the registration info. Chloe complained in a low voice. Gracie, that guy is too much. His attitude is so cold. He wouldn't even look us in the eye. It was the first time Grace had felt the chilly atmosphere and distinct hierarchy of the student council. Forget it. Forget it. Let's just follow the process and get it done quickly. That jerk Ethan will be out of class soon, Grace said helplessly. After filling out the information, she entered the office again. Hello, I've finished registering, Grace announced. Only then did the guy stop his pen, looking at his masterpiece with satisfaction before finally looking up at Grace. The moment he saw Grace, he froze, stunned by her appearance. Grace was wearing a light blue sailor-style dress, the hem reaching her knees, standing there tall and slender, radiating youthful energy. Ah, fellow student, were you the one applying just now? The guy, seeing such a catch, shot up from his seat and walked over with a heap of smiles, his attitude infinitely warmer than before. Yes, Grace nodded. The guy said with a friendly grin, haha, great. Our student council is getting another beauty. All right, forgot to introduce myself. I'm Lance Fuller, currently the head of the organization department, a sophomore. You can call me Director Fuller. Lance looked Grace up and down a few times, smiling. You look unfamiliar. Must be a freshman, right? Yes, I'm Grace Miller from Architecture Class 1. Grace replied with a polite smile. Hearing that Grace was a freshman, Lance's eyes lit up even more. Bingo, a freshman beauty. TSK. This junior is so fresh. Lance licked his lips. He had never seen such a pretty girl. He was smitten the moment he laid eyes on Grace. He secretly thought to himself, if I had known it was such a gorgeous girl, I would have been more enthusiastic earlier. Great, I'm a year above you. Just call me Lance. Calling me director makes us sound distant, Lance said, rubbing his hands together with a beaming smile. Chloe, seeing his lecherous grin, wanted to smack him in the face with her shoe. Too sleazy. Just a moment ago he was ignoring them, and now, after seeing Grace, his attitude had done a complete 180. This guy had no shame. Okay, Lance. Grace forced a smile, feeling helpless. Hello, Junior. With your qualifications, joining the student council is absolutely no problem. Wait a sec. I'll approve it for you right now, haha. Lance laughed happily. He went to the door, brought the registration book in, scanned Grace's info, and exclaimed in surprise, Ms. Joy recommended you. Ms. Joy was the teacher who had invited Grace to lead the dance at the freshman welcome ball, and she also served as the faculty advisor for the student council. Yes, Ms. Joy recommended me. She told me to just come here and register today. Grace replied. Grace, you should have said so earlier. I was so negligent just now. I'll approve this immediately, Lance said, slapping his thigh. He signed his name directly on a registration form and handed it to Grace. Grace, just fill in your basic info on this form. If there's anything you don't know how to fill out, just ask me anytime, Lance said warmly. Seeing his behavior, Grace shook her head inwardly. Hearing she was recommended by Ms. Joy, his attitude got even better. Sure enough, it really depends on connections. Although Grace had a father who was a deputy director at the steel mill, she hadn't seen many people who steered so blatantly with the wind. Seeing a living example today felt quite bizarre and a little novel. So this is what it feels like to ride on connections. Grace sat in the chair, filling out the form while Lance stood by her side, making conversation every now and then, finding things to say. Where do you live, Grace? Why did you choose this sausage fest major, Grace? Are you used to living here at Illinois Tech yet? Lance stared at her beautiful profile, licked his lips, and pretended to ask casually, Grace, you just finished boot camp, right? Is there any guy you're interested in? Lance, I have a boyfriend. Grace paused her pen, looked up, and spoke indifferently. You have a boyfriend? Lance asked in astonishment, disappointment unconcealed in his eyes. Yes. Is there a problem? Grace asked back with a light laugh. Cough, cough, no problem. Lance coughed dryly twice, regaining his composure, but his expression cooled a few degrees. You're done filling it out, right? Grace nodded, stopped writing, and handed the form to him. Lance, I'm done. Let me see. Lance said lukewarmly, then sat back in his seat, putting on a show of scrutinizing the document. Grace, which department do you intend to join? Grace had already thought about it and said directly, I want to go to the External Relations Department to challenge myself. Compared to other internal departments, the External Relations Department offered more opportunities to stand out. Many officers in the student council had risen from external relations. This department was mainly responsible for external communication tasks, such as liaising with other campus clubs, teachers, student councils of other schools, and securing sponsorships from outside organizations. External relations was also one of the only two departments in the student council that could generate funding. Student council activity funds were usually allocated by the school annually, so budgets were made in advance. However, spending often exceeded the budget every year, so pulling in sponsorships became a critical channel for funds. Thus, external relations was considered a core department of the student council and a fast track for promotion. External relations, huh? That might be a bit difficult to arrange, Lance said with a troubled expression, putting down the file and crossing his legs. Difficult? Grace was stunned. Didn't the head of the organization department have the final say on where new members went? Why was it suddenly difficult? Seeing Grace's confusion, Lance laughed inwardly. Sure enough, a rookie doesn't know a thing. She didn't even catch my implication. Some things can only be understood, not explained. You want to transfer departments without giving a little benefit. Lance tapped the table and made up an excuse. Yeah, external relations is a key department. Actually, they've never been short of hands. They've been overstaffed for a long time. As the head of the organization department, I have to consider the overall personnel situation. If you want to apply for external relations, it puts me in a tough spot too. What? I can't. Lance, why do I get the feeling you're giving me the runaround? Grace frowned and spoke bluntly. Hearing this, a flash of anger passed through Lance's eyes. He leaned back in his chair, glanced at her sideways, and said coldly, "How am I giving you the runaround? These are the rules, and I have to follow the rules. Grace, I think you have an attitude problem. Regarding your admission approval, I need to think it over again. I'll speak to Ms. Joy personally about this. If there's nothing else, go back and wait for notification." After speaking, Lance picked up a book and started flipping through it casually, not showing any friendliness. "Little girl, if I want to block you, I can block you for a month or two. Offend the organization department in the student council, and you'll pay for it." Grace got a bit anxious upon hearing this. Just as she was about to continue arguing with Lance, Chloe suddenly tugged at her arm, signaling with her eyes to go out and talk first. "Lance, we're just going to use the restroom quickly." Chloe turned and mentioned to Lance, then pulled Grace out. Chloe dragged her out of the office and all the way to the other side of the hallway before stopping. "Chloe, what are you doing? Why are you being so sneaky? Couldn't we talk inside?" Grace rolled her eyes at her. Chloe lowered her voice. "Gracie, haven't you figured it out yet? That Lance guy is deliberately making excuses to stall you." "Huh? What?" Grace was startled. Chloe said seriously, "Gracie, your dad is a deputy director. How can you not think this through? You want to transfer to a cushy department just by asking? Will he help you just like that? If he helped you just like that, then anyone could ask him for favors. When he says it's hard to handle, he's probably asking you for conditions." Hearing this, Grace was completely confused. "What is what? I recognize every word you're saying, but when you put them together, I don't understand a thing," Grace said helplessly. Chloe slapped her forehead. Thinking about it, Grace had never really suffered any hardships growing up. She was straightforward in speech and action. It was natural she didn't understand. Simply put, if you want to transfer to external relations, you have to give him some benefits. It's that simple, Chloe said in the plainest terms. Grace raised an eyebrow, dissatisfied. Why should I give him benefits? If I can transfer, I transfer. If I can't, I can't. Why would giving benefits make it possible? This is the student council, not some corrupt den. Why engage in this stuff? Chloe rolled her eyes at her. What did you think? I told you, the politics in the student council are intense. You can't handle it. Grace clenched her fist, knuckles cracking, her eyes carrying a chill. I'd like to see how many guts he has to ask me for benefits. I'm going to ask him right now. I want to see exactly what benefits he wants. With that, Grace turned around to go back and reason with Lance. Chloe's heart skipped a beat. If she got into a conflict with Lance and offended the head of the organization department, how would she survive in the student council later? Did she still want to become an officer or climb the ranks? Just as Chloe was about to chase after her, she suddenly saw someone walking toward them. Ethan. Perfect timing, quick, stop, Gracie. Ethan was walking toward the two of them. Hearing Chloe shout, he looked at Grace and saw her face full of dissatisfaction, looking aggressive, like she was ready to pick a fight. Ethan walked up to Grace and asked with a smile, "Little Gracie, what's wrong? Who upset you?" Grace pouted, then vented her grievances to Ethan, briefly explaining what had happened in the office. That Lance guy thinks, just because he's the head of organization, he could do whatever he wants. Transfer or not, I just asked him a simple question. If I can't transfer, I won't complain. But asking me for benefits? He's dreaming, Grace said angrily. Having heard the whole story, Ethan rubbed her head and smiled soothingly. All right, it's not worth getting angry over someone like that. Don't be mad. I'm here. I'll go handle this for you. Trust me, in a moment, he won't refuse. Grace stared at him in confusion. What? You'll handle it? Do you know him? Nope, never met him. Ethan shrugged with a smile. Grace rolled her eyes at him and pouted. Then why are you showing off? I'd better go myself. As she moved to go, Ethan quickly held her back, grabbing her shoulders, and said firmly, Hey, little Gracie, trust me. If you storm in there now, it'll be hard for you to work in the student council later. It's easy for people to make your life miserable with petty moves. Don't worry, I have a way. Ethan looked at her, smiling confidently. You have to trust your man. Hearing this, Grace's pretty face blushed. She spat. What man? I'm shameless. Cough, cough. You too, I'm still here. Chloe coughed awkwardly. If she didn't stop them, she'd be suffocating on the PDA. Ethan pinched Grace's chubby, cute cheek and said dotingly, All right, just wait here for a sec. I'll be right back. Grace watched Ethan walk toward the organization department office, feeling a bit worried. That jerk Ethan didn't know him well. Could he really talk him into it? Forget it. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't matter. She'd figure something else out later. Judging by Lance's attitude, she didn't feel there was much hope, so she didn't hold much expectation. Gracie, don't worry. If Ethan can't fix it, we'll just go ask Ms. Joy. Chloe comforted her. I guess that's the only way. Grace laughed helplessly. The two sat on the chairs in the hallway, waiting. Knock, knock, knock. The office door was open, but Ethan knocked anyway. Lance looked up and saw Ethan, a strange face he had never seen before. He asked in confusion, Who are you? What's up? Hearing the other party's impatient tone, Ethan didn't rush. With a smile on his face, he asked, Excuse me, is this the organization department office? I just wanted to inquire about how to join the student council. Lance gave an, oh, and casually tossed a student council information packet and a registration form onto the desk. I don't have time right now. Look at it yourself. If you want to join, fill out the form and wait for my approval. I'm a student council organization department head, Lance Fuller. You could just call me Lance. Ethan smiled, pulled out a chair, sat next to him, and sized Lance up. This guy looked down his nose at everyone. Give him a little power and it goes straight to his head. No wonder little Gracie was so angry. Ethan wasn't in a hurry to fill out the paperwork. Instead, he took out a pack of parliaments and placed it on the desk, smiling. Lance, I've got a bit of craving. Mind if I smoke one? He saw an ashtray under the window in the corner of the office, figuring the people in the office smoked too. Since they smoked, he used it as an excuse to build a little rapport first, at least to get the guy to notice him. Lance saw the soft-pack parliaments on the table, and his eyes straightened instantly. Parliaments. Famous cigarettes, expensive. Ordinary families wouldn't bear to smoke such good ones. Most people just smoked cheap generic brands. Growing up, he had never even smoked a parliament. Lance looked up at Ethan, sizing him up. Seeing Ethan's clean, handsome features and somewhat scholarly air, he couldn't help but speculate secretly. Is he a rich second generation? Ordinary college students couldn't afford to smoke parliaments. At that moment, Lance noticed a gorgeous wristwatch on Ethan's left wrist. Although he couldn't tell the brand, judging by the style and craftsmanship, it definitely wasn't cheap. My God, a college student wearing such a nice watch. His family must be extraordinary. Oh, no problem. You can smoke right over there by the open window. Lance immediately sat up straight, a friendly smile on his face. His attitude was miles better than before. Ethan stood up, pulled out a parliament, and handed it to Lance. Do you smoke, Lance? Join me. I do occasionally. Thanks, man. Lance accepted the cigarette politely. By the way, classmate, what's your name? Ethan Ford. Ethan walked to the window, took out a lighter, and personally lit Lance's cigarette. Lance froze for a second, feeling like he had heard the name somewhere, but couldn't recall it at the moment. But he quickly smiled. Ethan, you're a freshman, right? Our student council welcomes new students to join. Fresh blood brings new vitality. Ethan lit his own cigarette and said, to be honest, I hadn't really thought about joining the student council. But Mr. Hill kept persuading me, saying there are a lot of benefits to joining, so I thought I'd come over and learn more. You have a reference. Mr. Hill. Which Mr. Hill? Lance was stunned and asked. Mr. Hill from the admissions office. Speaking of which, he recruited me into the school. I'm quite familiar with him. He's a great guy, Ethan said casually, but his words revealed his relationship with Mr. Hill. This was a conversational technique. If you're a nobody and have no special connections, you generally won't be well received. But when you inadvertently reveal that you know so-and-so, some figure the other party's attitude will definitely improve. This is a tangible way to use connections. Even if others don't give you face, they have to give face to the person you know. Sure enough, hearing that Ethan was introduced by Mr. Hill, Lance's face instantly broke into a wider smile. Ah, so it was Mr. Hill who introduced you. Ethan, you should have said so earlier. I'll process your paperwork right away. Mr. Hill has guided our student council work several times. By the way, Mr. Hill personally recruited you. Ethan, what was your SAT score? Lance suddenly realized the implication in Ethan's words and asked hurriedly. High school stuff. Nothing much, just 1590. Oh, 15. How much? 1590? Holy crap. Ethan, you're this year's state top scorer? Lance stared at Ethan in utter shock, his mouth gaping wide enough to swallow a fist, a monstrous wave rising in his heart. Holy shit, I didn't expect this ordinary-looking young man in front of me to be the state valedictorian. No wonder Mr. Hill went to recruit him personally. State top scorer. At Illinois Tech, he'd be treated preferentially by all levels of school leadership. Holy crap, thank God I asked. Ash fell onto his finger, burning him and making him shiver before he snapped back to reality. Ethan, are you really the state top scorer? Lance asked again in disbelief. That's what the paper said, I guess. But in this day and age, let's not get hung up on titles. Ethan waved his hand, speaking modestly. Ethan put out his cigarette and suddenly asked, Lance, is there water in the office? After smoking, I'm a bit thirsty. Yes. Ethan, you sit down first. I'll go pour you a glass. Lance hurriedly attended to him. His cigarette wasn't even finished, but he snubbed it out and scampered to pour water. A moment later, Lance poured a glass of water and politely placed it in front of Ethan. His expression was somewhat fervent. If he could build a good relationship with Ethan, he might gain some appreciation from school leadership in the future. State top scorer, he was definitely going to be a big shot with limitless potential. At the very least, within this school, he would be very influential. Can't offend him. Must try to build a good relationship. Ethan took the water, said thanks, and then changed the subject. By the way, my girlfriend seems to have come to register today, too. I wonder if her application has been approved yet. Ethan, your girlfriend? It wouldn't happen to be Grace Miller, would it? A bolt of lightning flashed through Lance's mind as he asked in astonishment. Yes, that's her. Grace Miller. Has she been processed? Ethan asked with a smile. Cough, she just applied. I got busy just now and almost forgot about it. I'm really sorry, I'll approve it right now, along with yours. Lance replied hurriedly. I heard she wants to go to the External Relations Department. I wonder if she can still be transferred there. Ethan stared straight at him. Lance instantly felt a massive pressure bearing down on him. Ethan's gaze made him feel stressed, afraid to look him in the eye. He didn't know why, but he felt a kind of authority radiating from Ethan, similar to that of the school leaders. No problem. Absolutely no problem. I'll approve the transfer right now. Lance said with an apologetic smile. Only then did Ethan reveal a smile. He stood up and patted Lance on the shoulder. Then help me get mine done too. Sorry to trouble you, Lance. I'll treat you to a meal another day. It's a pleasure to meet such a helpful upperclassman. Lance nodded repeatedly, laughing dryly. Not at all. It's my duty. Being able to meet a state top scorer, a genius like Ethan, that's my honor. On the other side, in the hallway outside, Grace peered toward the office, then checked the time on her watch, asking in confusion, what's going on? Why hasn't that stinky Ethan come out yet? Chloe guessed. Gracie, Ethan wouldn't be in there begging him for help, would he? Grinding Lance down until he agrees? No way, right? Would he lower himself like that? Grace shook her head repeatedly, expressing disbelief. That jerk Ethan, even if the King of Heaven suffered a loss, he wouldn't suffer one. She felt like few people could take advantage of him. Hey, that's not necessarily true. Maybe for you, Ethan would put aside his pride, even his self-esteem. Chloe joked. Grace pouted. I don't want him to humble himself for me. As they were speaking, they suddenly saw Ethan and Lance walking out of the office, chatting and laughing. Chloe was bewildered. Grace stared dumbfounded too. Why did it suddenly feel like the two were long-lost best friends? My God, what is this situation? Ethan walked up to Grace and smiled. Little Gracie, everything's settled. Let's go eat together in a bit. Huh? Grace was stunned. Lance, piling on a face full of apologetic smiles, bowed to Grace. I'm sorry, Grace. I spoke a little too loudly just now. I hope you won't take it to heart. Please accept my sincere apology. Grace, _. Okay. No problem, Grace replied, stunned, then shot a questioning glance at Ethan. Ethan just smiled and shrugged, indicating it was no big deal. Lance, you get back to work then. My girlfriend and I are going to grab some food, Ethan said to Lance over his shoulder. Lance nodded repeatedly, smiling. Yes, yes. Ethan, let me walk you out. No need to trouble yourself, Ethan said politely. Grace took Ethan's arm as they left the student government building. As soon as they were out the door, she couldn't help asking, My God, Lord Ethan, how did you do it? Why was his attitude toward you so good? Tell me quickly. Ethan grinned. There are a lot of tricks involved. If I told you, you probably wouldn't understand. Grace. Fine then. You think my comprehension skills aren't good enough? Ethan chuckled. Are your comprehension skills strong? Then let me test you. If you get it right, I'll tell you. Bring it on. Why can a frog jump higher than a tree? Grace scratched her head, thinking hard. She scratched until her scalp nearly broke, but she couldn't figure it out. Impossible. How can a frog jump higher than a tree? Is there such a frog? Absolutely impossible. There's no answer to this question, Grace declared confidently. Ethan scraped her nose lightly, teasing, Little dummy, of course there's an answer. What is it? Grace looked at him skeptically. Little fool, trees can't jump, Ethan laughed. Grace stared blankly. You can do that. You villain, Grace chased after him in annoyed embarrassment. The two chased and played, bursts of laughter following them. Chloe watched the two of them from the side, a motherly smile appearing on her face. Gracie and Ethan really were a perfect match. TSK, sweet romance is truly enviable. Sigh, I wonder where my boyfriend is right now. Has he eaten lunch? Has he started kindergarten yet? Boss, add another bowl of spicy beef ramen. Wayne called out, raising his hand and attracting sideways glances from the other diners in the shop. When the diners saw Wayne's size, they understood and weren't surprised. Being that big and sturdy, it was normal to eat an extra bowl. Wayne, I'm full. Liu Zhang put down his chopsticks and whispered. Not one more bowl? This place's brisket ramen is really good. Eat up. My treat, Wayne said generously. He had come to the company at noon to do some work and saw Leo hadn't eaten, so he dragged him out for lunch. Westford Electronics was still a startup. Working in different departments meant they rarely had a casual meal together. No thanks, I don't eat much. Leo scratched his head and smiled sheepishly. Wayne smiled and suddenly asked, By the way, how many registered users do we have for 361 Guardian software now? 33 million registered users, 890,000 daily active logins, 400,000 paying members. Membership fees are at 6 million. Monthly user growth is 230%. Leo's voice was like a machine. He knew every figure by heart. Wayne looked at him in surprise. He hadn't expected Leo to keep these numbers so close to heart. Truly the workaholic of the tech department. TSK 361 is developing really fast, and it's really making money, over 3 million in membership fees alone. Leo, old buddy, your contribution is huge. Wayne praised. Actually, it was Mr. Ford's layout. Even the best product needs excellent marketing. Mr. Ford's word-of-mouth strategy was very successful. That's the key to such rapid user growth. Leo sighed with emotion. He felt very fortunate to have come to such a company, a pioneering tech firm with a great atmosphere and, most importantly, a wise and decisive boss. People often say that in business, it's important to be in the right industry and follow the right boss. Now that he had both, he was full of confidence for the future. Ethan's a genius, of course. His vision is impeccable. By the way, the tech department started the third round of expansion, right? How many people do you plan to hire this time? Wayne asked curiously. Westford's personnel were slowly shifting toward the tech side. The technical staff was already approaching the number of employees in the electronics retail division. Westford Electronics now had 8 offline stores with nearly 200 sales and repair staff. According to Mr. Ford's plan, the tech department will recruit 150 more people, bringing the total to 280. Besides strengthening R&D for 361, there's the Westford e-commerce platform tech, assisting Arctic Systems with the messenger software, and Mr. Ford also ordered the recruitment of game developers, Leo said with a strange expression. Games? All right, Ethan mentioned our company would get into games too. I heard him say games are very profitable and low cost, Wayne laughed. He remembered Ethan mentioning a game, Legend, Mir 2, a Korean game that had just started operating. Ethan wanted to make a domestic version of Legend, didn't want to negotiate licensing, wanted complete control, so they had to develop it from scratch, aiming for a year-end launch. Developing the game tech wasn't hard. The key was figuring out the gameplay. While most companies would take many detours exploring gameplay, Ethan said the gameplay was already in his head. The entire architecture was there. It just needed to be implemented in code. Wayne still couldn't figure out how Ethan had such clear gameplay ideas. Sigh, can't figure it out. It's like, Ethan knows everything. Mr. Ford's ideas are always hard to guess, but following him is never wrong, Leo laughed. These next few days, I have to run around major universities with HR for campus recruitment. For tech talent, we have to look at Northwestern, Chicago, and the top schools here in the city, especially the local ones. Recruiting local talent feels safer. As Leo spoke, the boss brought over a bowl of beef ramen and placed it in front of Wayne. Chicago is great, lots of talent. You put a lot of thought into interviews. Ethan said, slightly lower technical skills don't matter. What matters is the person. As long as they're willing to learn, work hard, and improve, technical growth is inevitable. Our company has the platform for growth. Just like you, Leo, a desperate workaholic, huh? Wayne teased. This praise made Leo a bit embarrassed. He smiled sheepishly. I understand. Mr. Ford reminded me. I'll gatekeep properly, but Mr. Ford will personally conduct the final interviews for mid-level technical staff and above. That's good. Leo, work hard. Promotion and a raise. Reaching the pinnacle of life. Wayne skillfully painted a big picture to encourage him. He learned this from Ethan too. To be in management, you must know how to sell the dream, but you can't make it too big, too fake, or too empty. And there must be a chance of realization. Reasonable dream selling is called goal incentives. Yes, Wayne, I'll work hard. Leo nodded solemnly. On the other side, after lunch, Ethan and Grace arrived at the school's dance studio. In a huge classroom, nearly 100 men and women were practicing in the dance area. The scene was lively. They were all preparing for the upcoming freshman welcome ball. Ethan had already promised Ms. Joy that he would lead the opening dance with Grace at the ball. Ethan! Suddenly, Jason York's voice rang out from behind. Ethan turned around to see Jason, Kevin Kegg, O'Connor, and Sam Tucker, the three friends. But when he saw Jason's clothes, he froze. Holy crap, this outfit Jason is wearing. Why does he look so much like a certain person? Seeing Ethan's surprised expression, Jason triumphantly tugged at his blue denim overalls, smoothed back his middle-parted hair, and laughed. Look, am I particularly handsome today? Ethan twitched the corner of his mouth and gave a thumbs up. Handsome, of course handsome. You're the coolest kid in the room. But speaking of which, you actually own blue overalls. Jason showed off the logo on his pants. Levi's brand, okay? This is from my private collection. Ethan teased, Jason, I think you look especially handsome right now. You look just like someone, a star. Hearing this, Jason couldn't help showing joy on his face and asked curiously, who? Sing, dance, rap, bust a move. I'm K-Ray. Fear me. The most handsome idol in the universe, K-Ray. Ethan teased with a straight face. There's a star like that? How come I don't know him? Is he famous? Jason asked in confusion. Ethan improvised, throwing an arm around his shoulder and bluffing. Of course he's famous. He's the hottest new thing, didn't you know? But I don't blame you. You don't follow the entertainment industry, so it's normal not to know. But didn't you want to meet some girls at the dance? Jason nodded, flipping his bangs with a confident smile. Yeah, this outfit is my treasured battle gear. I was thinking of relying on it to gallop through the ball. Giddy up. I'll teach you a move. Since you're dressed like K-Ray, you might as well imitate him all the way. He's a big star. Surely lots of girls like him. Maybe you'll run into a few super fans, true love fans, and then wouldn't you easily be able to gallop? Ethan continued to bluff. Jason rolled his eyes, realizing, you have a point. Then tell me quickly, what traits does K-Ray have? I'll imitate them immediately. Ethan laughed. I just told you. Sing, dance, rap, and sick moves. Just do these well, and you're a qualified Ray head. So then EIC, got it. I'll go try it later. Jason realized, then turned to leave, ready to show off his skills. Seeing Jason leave, Keg hurriedly chased after him, shouting, Jason, don't forget your wingman. Sam Tucker shook his head and laughed. Those two are really exploding with hormones. Me, I'll just go work on the side. Ethan was surprised. Sam, you came to the dance just to work? Sigh. I'm not smooth with words. Surely no one wants to be my partner. Might as well study e-commerce marketing a bit more. By the way, Ethan, I have an idea. Don't know if it's right. Sam hesitated for a moment before speaking. Ethan patted his shoulder and smiled. I just say it. Having ideas is a good thing. I feel. Isn't our e-commerce platforms shipping a bit too slow? For example, if a customer buys from New York and we ship from Chicago via the postal service, it takes half a month, even more, to get to New York. A lot of buyers find it troublesome. Waiting too long makes them willing to buy computer parts locally at a higher price. The shipping time is too long. I was thinking, can we ship a portion of the goods to New York, build a warehouse there, and store the goods in New York in advance? If a New York customer buys, wouldn't shipping locally be much faster? It would take about 2 or 3 days to reach the user. Sam said seriously. Hearing this, a look of surprise appeared on Ethan's face. He looked at Sam with astonishment. He hadn't expected Sam to think of this level already. This was the concept of local warehousing. Ethan indeed had thoughts of establishing local warehouses, but due to the issues with Southbridge traders, the supply source had risks, so he hadn't been able to take this step. But with Sam's reminder, he really should lay out the local warehousing and logistics in advance. These two were the pillars of future e-commerce development. Ethan, what do you think? Did I say something wrong? Sam asked in a low voice, lacking confidence. Ethan waved his hand and said seriously, no, you're not wrong. Your idea is excellent. However, it needs to be combined with a logistics plan. A logistics plus local warehousing plan. Can you make a proposal for me to look at? I want a complete proposal. I'll give you some info later, and you can add it to the plan to perfect it. If the proposal passes discussion, I think you can handle this aspect of the work. Receiving Ethan's affirmation and praise, Sam was overjoyed and excited. Okay, no problem, Ethan. I'll go back and conceive the plan right away. With that, Sam lost interest in staying at the dance. He turned and slipped away, wanted to go back to the dorm to research on his computer. Grace listened from the side, completely lost. Logistics, local warehouses. She didn't know what any of it meant. Stinky Ethan, come on, let's go practice quickly. I don't want to make a fool of myself at the ball. Grace pulled his hand and walked toward the dance floor. Grace actually felt a bit guilty about leading the dance because the number of times she had danced ballroom in her life could be counted on one hand. She hadn't even danced with a boy before, including Ethan, but to save face, she stubbornly claimed no problem. The two arrived on the dance floor. Speakers in the corner were playing music, and beside them, many men and women were dancing gracefully to the tune. Little Gracie, you know how to dance, right? Ethan asked as a matter of course. Cough, cough. Of course I know. I'm very familiar. I get it. Grace masked a somewhat awkward smile on her face. Then let's begin. It's my first time dancing with you. This will be a memorable memory, Ethan laughed. Saying so, he held Grace's hand, got into the preparatory position, and then acted like a gentleman. Beautiful Miss Miller, I am honored to dance with you. I've got goosebumps. Grace blushed and gave him a disgusted look. This is called mood, atmosphere, get it? Ethan laughed helplessly. Then Ethan began to guide Grace into the steps along with the soothing music. The next moment, Ethan felt a sharp pain on his foot. Grace had stepped on him. Hiss. Little Gracie, you stepped on me. Sorry, mistake. One more time. Hiss. Your one more time is stepping on me one more time. Cough, didn't pay attention. Next time I'll definitely pay attention. Hiss. Crap, your next time is stepping again? My foot's about to swell up. I shouldn't be. I clearly remember it's danced like this. No, Stinky Ethan, surely you stepped wrong. Ethan. Little Gracie, turns out you can't dance, can you? Cough. I originally knew how. Later, I don't know why, I forgot a little bit. Just a tiny bit. Holy mother of. Why didn't you say so earlier? Fine, I'll teach you. Ethan put one hand on Grace's waist and said gently, this song is 3 beats a measure, so we dance the slow waltz step. Come, follow my feet. Under Ethan's patient and careful guidance, Grace finally found the rhythm and steps. The two were pressed closely together. Grace could feel the beating heart in Ethan's chest and his warm breath. At this moment, her little heart was thumping, as if a little deer were about to bound out of her chest, and her cheeks burned. Dancing with Stinky Ethan felt really nice. Little Gracie, focus. Ethan's gentle voice sounded in her ear, making her shiver instantly, her ears feeling tingly and numb. In a trance, Grace tripped over her own feet, about to fall backward. Fortunately, Ethan's hand had been holding her waist, preventing her from falling, but their posture was now like the male and female leads in a drama, eyes locked simultaneously. At this moment, Grace's heartbeat sped up even more, her face flushed red, her lips trembling. Ethan, wearing a mischievous smile, bent down and slowly leaned in closer. Grace panicked instantly, her cheeks even redder. No way. Stinky Ethan, what do you want to do? Don't. There are too many people here. Watching Ethan's face get closer and closer, Grace puffed up her cheeks, face burning red, and asked, Stinky Ethan, let go of me. What are you trying to do? Her tone was a bit panicked, afraid Ethan would do something to her in public. That would be too embarrassing. Unexpectedly, Ethan stopped, squinted, and teased with a laugh. Little dummy, what do you think? Huh. All right, look how scared you are. I'm teasing you. Ethan pulled her upright. Grace finally felt a little relieved, then shyly said, detestable. Stinky Ethan, see if I don't tear you apart. Saying that, she went to pinch Ethan's face, but Ethan quickly dodged. Hey, little Gracie, how about we find a quiet place? Ethan asked, thick-skinned. No way, keep dreaming. Grace's face turned even redder, deeper than an apple, and she glared at him with her pretty eyes. Stinky Ethan, looks like you're asking for it lately. Asking for a beating, eat my death grip. Nah, you can't catch me, stop. Make me. The two chased and played in the dance hall. Grace's laughter attracted the attention of surrounding students. Seeing Grace and Ethan playing around, many male students cast envious looks at Ethan. Having such a beautiful girlfriend, I'm so envious. Ethan, Ethan. Suddenly, Jason shouted twice, running over quickly from the other side and grabbing Ethan. Ethan paused, seeing his anxious expression, and asked in surprise, what's wrong? Quick, teach me right now. Only you can help me. Jason said anxiously. Teach you what? Ethan asked, confused. At this moment, Grace charged over, rubbing her fists, ready to execute justice on Ethan right there. Little Gracie, wait a sec. My buddy has urgent business. We'll battle again tonight. Ethan immediately raised his hand to halt her, shouting. Jason blocked Grace's path like a man facing death, saying to her, sister-in-law, if you want to touch Ethan, you'll have to step over my corpse. Grace, nun. I can't be bothered with you guys. I'm going to get water. Stinky Ethan, I'll deal with you later. Seeing Grace turn and leave, Jason claimed credit from Ethan. Ethan, look, I saved your life. You definitely have to help me this time. Speak. Help you with what? Ethan straightened his clothes and smiled. Jason danced with excitement. I just saw a girl over there with a killer body. 34, 24, 34. Her name is Lily. She seems to be a female fan of K-Ray. I chatted with her really well, but she wants to see if I can rap and dance. She wants me to perform for her, but I don't know how. I don't even know who K-Ray is. How would I know? Ethan, surely you know, right? You must help me this time. Whether your buddy can gallop tonight depends on you. Ethan was stunned hearing this. What the hell? There are female fans for that. How is that possible? Jason rolled his eyes at him. Didn't you say K-Ray is the hottest new thing? Isn't he famous? Having female fans is normal. Ethan, come on. Either your brain has issues, or that girl's brain isn't right. In this day and age, how could there be K-Ray female fans? That's a made-up meme. Jason grabbed Ethan's arm and pleaded. Ethan, what are you saying? Sigh. Anyway, Lily and I have already hooked up. You absolutely have to help me once. Fine, I'll help you once. Follow my lead. Ethan took a deep breath and said seriously, you just need to remember 2 moves. Those are the essence. Jason asked curiously, what moves? First move, wax on, wax off while singing one hot chick, oh baby, oh baby. Second move is the shoulder check. High, middle, low shoulder check, then jump up, cross your hands, finish. Remember to sing along. Oh yeah. Ethan demonstrated for him with extreme shame. After demonstrating, Ethan felt so awkward his toes could carve out a magic castle. Sigh. So humiliating. Damn it. Never dancing again next time. That's it? That's simple? Really? Jason asked doubtfully. Ethan patted his shoulder. Don't worry, that's it. If you're worried, I'll go over with you. I'll back you up. That sounds great. Let's go now. Jason said happily, then led Ethan over. On the other side, a girl with a curvy figure wearing a tight dress sat in the rest area beside the dance floor. Her killer body attracted the gaze of many boys. Lily, other guys hit on you and you ignore them. Why are you so interested in that handsome guy? And what is K-Ray? Is there such a star? How come I haven't heard of him? Beside her sat a girl with shoulder-length short hair, wearing a butterfly headband and a floral dress, full of youthful vibe. Lucy, don't worry about whether that star exists. It's called creating common topics, you know? And didn't you see he was wearing Levi's? Clothes from that brand aren't cheap. Lily Chow whispered with a smile. And the girl asked, puzzled, are you stupid? That handsome guy dresses so well. Can his family be ordinary? Maybe he's a total jackpot, hee. Lily's eyes shone. The girl rolled her eyes at her. Just because he might be a jackpot. What else? Our conditions aren't bad either. Why wrong ourselves by finding someone with average conditions? Think about it. If you date someone who can't even produce a decent gift, or hasn't even taken you out for a Western meal, how are you going to live? Lily said righteously. The girl slapped her forehead. Sigh. Fine, I can't be bothered with you. But behave yourself. We were invited by Illinois Tech. Later we have to attend the freshman mixer. Don't cause trouble, or I won't be able to explain it to the student council. I know. I've always been well-behaved. I definitely won't embarrass our UIC. Lily patted her chest in guarantee. The girl glanced at her. I don't trust you. Last time 2 guys got into a fist fight over you. They volunteered. Nothing to do with me. Lily stuck out her tongue, embarrassed. All right, I'm going to the restroom. Find a partner to practice with yourself. The girl got up and left. Shortly after the girl left, Jason and Ethan walked over. Hi, Lily, I'm back. Jason raised his hand to greet Lily. This is my roommate, Ethan Ford. Lily looked Ethan up and down a few times. Seeing the wristwatch on Ethan's wrist, her eyes lit up instantly. A Cartier watch and a new model. This model must be at least 10 grand. Sure enough, a rich guy's friend is also a rich guy. Now there are 2 jackpots. Lily got a little excited. Hello. I'm Lily Chow. She stood up and shook hands with Ethan enthusiastically, then flipped her wavy hair, her style quite trendy. Hello. Ethan responded flatly. From the first impression, this girl was a bit too enthusiastic toward him, and her gaze had fixed on his watch several times. He immediately formed a judgment about this girl. Navigating the business world for so long, Ethan had seen all kinds of people, and his judgment was always sharp. Except for, Lily, didn't you say you wanted to see me rap and dance? It just so happens I learned K-Ray's dance too. It's just that I'm usually low-key and not used to dancing in a place with so many people. But as long as you want to see it, I'm happy to dance for you. Because from the first moment I saw you, I felt there was a magical destiny between us. Do you believe in this kind of magical destiny? Jason asked, putting on a serious face. Lily flipped her hair, pretending to be innocent and charming, shyly saying, I believe. Ethan quietly watched the 2 of them perform. One pretending to be innocent, one pretending to be pure. Truly a match made in heaven. However, as a friend, Ethan still whispered in Jason's ear, Jason, I get the feeling you can't handle this girl. Jason didn't catch Ethan's meaning. Glancing at Lily's chest, he swallowed his saliva and whispered back, I know, definitely hard to handle. But I like this kind of challenge. Ethan smiled helplessly and shook his head. Then you figure out yourself. Ethan, don't worry. I know what I'm doing. Jason laughed nonchalantly. Then he walked up to Lily and said seriously, Lily, right now, allow me to perform K-Ray's rap and dance skills for you. Okay. Lily forced a smile, but still pretended to look very interested. Watch closely. Jason began to mimic exactly what Ethan had just demonstrated, dancing while chanting, one hot chick, oh baby, oh baby. In an instant, Lily petrified. Watching it gave her secondhand embarrassment. Goosebumps rose all over her body. This is it. This is K-Ray's dance. Well, actually I don't know who K-Ray is either. Whatever. After Jason finished dancing, he struck a pose he thought was cool, looked at Lily deeply and asked, Lily, how was my dancing? Too good, it looked great. Lily started clapping against her will, full of praise. Seeing this, Jason looked delighted, thinking secretly, there's a chance. Only Ethan watched from the side, speechless. These 2 were born actors. At this moment, Jason extended his hand and said, very gentlemanly, Beautiful Miss Lily, may I invite you for a dance? Sure, but I have to go to the restroom first. Wait for me a moment. Lily used the restroom excuse, intending to touch up her makeup first. Okay, no problem. I'll be right here waiting for you, Jason said seriously. After Lily left, Jason jumped up excitedly, exclaiming to Ethan, Ethan, did you see? I got a shot. Bag her today, and I'll be galloping in no time. Giddy up. Ethan shook his head and laughed. You think you've got her? Careful you don't get played instead. Jason grasped the air with both hands, looking lecherous. Don't worry. In the end, I'll definitely be the one handling her. Ethan slapped his forehead, too lazy to deal with him. He sat on a nearby chair and sent a text to Grace. On the other side, at the restroom entrance, the girl with the butterfly headband came out just in time to see Lily touching up her makeup in the mirror, applying concealer and lipstick, making her look even more vivid. Lily, why are you fixing your makeup? The girl asked, puzzled. That Jason guy just invited me to dance. Of course I have to touch up. Lily smiled smugly. You 2 hooked up that fast? The girl asked in surprise. Cough, what hooked up? This is called mutual appreciation. Lily rolled her eyes at her. So what advantage did you see in him? The girl continued to ask. Kinda handsome, has money. Does that count? But I did discover a flaw. His dancing just now. Was honestly awkward to watch. Lily thought about it and replied. The girl finished washing her hands and said seriously, "You don't just stare at people's family background. You have to look at their character too. Dating isn't that simple. If you find the wrong person, you'll waste a lot of your youth." Lily laughed indifferently. I don't mind. Being young is about playing around." She suddenly stopped her hands, turned to the girl, and said, "By the way, Lucy, I just saw Jason's roommate. Looks like a jackpot too. Named Ethan Ford. That guy, he's wearing a new Cartier watch on his hand. That's a luxury item. Probably costs over 10 grand. As the saying goes, poor guys show off cars, rich guys show off watches. To wear such a good watch, his wealth can't be bad. Your chance is here. You have to seize it." The girl curled her lip. "Come on. What college student wears a $10,000 watch? 10,000 can buy a car." Lily grabbed her shoulders. "You have to trust my eyes. I'm a woman who has studied hundreds of fashion magazines. Anyway, listening to me is never wrong. And I saw the guy named Ethan isn't bad looking either. You'll definitely like him." With that, Lily pulled her out. What's taking so long?" Jason looked toward the restroom. Ethan looked down, playing a mobile game. Snake, not even lifting his head. Probably wanted to fix her makeup. From a situation just now, Ethan could guess Lily's thoughts with his toes. Before men and women dance, girls hope to show their best, prettiest side to their partner. Just like Grace specifically put on the sailor dress Ethan liked for today and wore light makeup. Moreover, Lily really seemed interested in Jason, whether it was the person or Jason's money. "Hi, Jason. I'm back. Let me introduce you. This is my roommate, Lucy." "Hello, Jason." The girl extended her hand graciously. Jason shook it and smiled. Hello. Sitting nearby and hearing the voice, Ethan suddenly froze. He heard that incredibly familiar voice again. He looked up, meeting the girl's gaze. He also saw astonishment on the other party's face. That girl had shoulder-length short hair, wore a butterfly headband, a floral dress, an oval face, willow leaf eyebrows, possessing a gentle, classic temperament. The girl's eyes widened, staring at Ethan in astonishment. "Hey, what a coincidence. You're here too. You don't remember me?" "Hello, classmate. I'm Lucy Yates. Don't you remember?" Ethan was stunned. "Why is she here? Is this a joke play by God? Since I've lived a new life, why let me meet you again?" Dazed for a moment, Ethan stood up, took a deep breath, and said calmly, "Hello." No matter how this world intersected, right now, Ethan told himself in his heart, the girl in front of him was just a stranger. Lucy, you two already knew each other?" Lily asked in confusion. Lucy looked at Ethan and smiled, dimples appearing on her cheeks. "Yeah, last time I left my Walkman at the food court, it was his classmate who helped me find it. I haven't had the chance to thank him yet." As she spoke, Lucy recalled Ethan's strange behavior before. She became more puzzled. This person looked normal, not like a mental patient. Why'd he act like that before? Truly a weirdo. That means you two are destined. Lily took the chance to chime in. Lucy's cheeks reddened slightly. She spat at her, whispering, "We just met. What nonsense are you saying?" But then she turned to face Ethan, actively extended her hand, and smiled. "So your name is Ethan? Let's formally introduce ourselves. I'm Lucy Yates. Classmates call me Lucy." Ethan looked at Lucy's extended hand, subconsciously raised his, but quickly pulled it back. At this moment, Jason and Lily looked at Ethan with strange gazes almost simultaneously, wondering why Ethan lacked basic social etiquette, seeming resistant to shaking hands with Lucy. Under their gazes, Ethan calmed his mind, just gave in and shook her hand briefly. Anyone could tell Ethan's attitude toward Lucy was indifferent, even cold, deliberately keeping a very far distance. A flash of confusion passed through Lucy's eyes, but she didn't take it too much to heart, thanking him. "Thanks again for helping me find my Walkman last time, Ethan." "You're welcome." Ethan let go of her hand and took a step back. The atmosphere instantly seemed awkward and cold. Jason immediately smoothed things over, laughing. Maybe this is destiny. But our Ethan is taken, don't mind him, guys. Lily, let's go dance." Hearing this, disappointment showed in Lily's eyes. Unexpectedly, Ethan was spoken for. But at least Jason wasn't. Just a pity for Lucy. Okay. Lily reached out her hand to him. Jason took it smoothly, and the two walked toward the dance floor. As soon as they left, only Ethan and Lucy remained. For a moment, neither spoke. The atmosphere was chilly, even a bit solidified. Finally, Lucy broke the silence, turning to look at Ethan and voicing the doubt in her heart. "Ethan, did we know each other a long time ago?" "No." "Really? Then why do you seem to be deliberately distancing yourself from me?" Sensitive Lucy still detected Ethan's strangeness. Combined with Ethan's weird behavior before, it made her misunderstand. Did they know each other long ago? Maybe the contact was brief, or he changed a lot, and she just didn't remember. But from Ethan's decisive answer, she wavered on this guess. Yet she couldn't understand why this classmate she just met was deliberately distancing himself, even acting as if facing a formidable enemy. Ethan pursed his lips, not answering her question. Stinky Ethan. At this moment, Grace's bell-like call came from behind. Ethan turned to see Grace skipping over to his side, holding 2 rocket pops in her hand. Here, one for you. I ran specifically to buy it for you. Grace smiled sweetly. Ethan took the rocket pop, seeing right through her, and laughed. You wanted to eat one yourself, right? Seeing her little scheme exposed, Grace stuck out her pink little tongue playfully. She suddenly noticed Lucy opposite Ethan and asked in surprise, Hey, this classmate. I've seen you somewhere? All right, at the food court. Really? Sorry. Maybe I don't have much of an impression. Hello. I'm Lucy Yates, a freshman at UIC, here for the exchange. Lucy smiled apologetically, then actively extended her hand. Grace switched the rocket pop to her other hand, shook hands, narrowed her eyes, and smiled. Hello, I'm Ethan's girlfriend, Grace Miller. Grace stared intently at Lucy, feeling an inexplicable sense of vigilance. Her self-introduction as Ethan's girlfriend was a declaration of sovereignty to the other party. Hello, Grace. That dress is really beautiful, Lucy admired, seeing her sailor-style outfit. Grace let go of her hand and smiled. Yes, my boyfriend gave it to me. Is that so? Seems Ethan has a good eye. Lucy forced a smile, laughing dryly. Of course, Grace said proudly, showing off her boyfriend. Lucy smiled and said, I still have to go to the student council, so I'll take my leave first. Have fun, you too. With that, Lucy said goodbye and turned to leave. Watching Lucy's retreating figure, Grace secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Turning to Ethan, she asked, Stinky Ethan, do you two know each other? Ethan, seeing her pouting lips and hearing the vinegar in her tone, teased, Yeah, met her, but don't know her well. Last time she left her Walkman behind, and I picked it up over at the food court. Really? Why did it look like that Lucy girl kept staring at you? Grace bit off a small piece of the popsicle with her little tiger tooth, asking. Ethan tilted his head and asked back, Did she? How come I didn't feel it? But right now I smell a strange scent. Ethan leaned his face closer and sniffed her. Huh, what smell? There isn't any. Grace raised her arm suspiciously to smell her sleeve, finding no strange odor. Ethan suddenly rubbed her head and laughed. There is. I smell something sour, like someone's jealous. Did someone knock over a jar of pickles? Grace's pretty face blushed, but she defended herself. No, I didn't. Who says I'm jealous? If you're overthinking it. Ethan grinned wickedly, continuing to lean in. Still denying it? I clearly smelled it. Little dummy, getting jealous over just that. Grace felt her thoughts were seen through, feeling flushed. She pouted. I wouldn't get jealous. Anyway, in this life, you can only be mine. You think you can run away? If you dare run, I'll break your legs. Both of them. Oh no, all 3. Ethan. Okay, little Gracie. Anyway, I'm stuck with you for life. I'll have to rely on you to look after me in the future. Only then did Grace smile, saying proudly, That's more like it. Little Ethan, accompany this princess to buy some snacks. This princess is hungry. Yes, at your command. After you, princess. Ethan gave a sycophantic smile and gestured with his hand. The two walked while licking their rocket pops, then went out to buy snacks. Grace liked eating all kinds of snacks, Cheetos, shrimp chips, fruit jellies. She refused none. After buying them, Ethan had an extra bag in his hand, filled with snacks. Grace, can you finish all this? Ethan laughed helplessly. I can finish it. Besides, your roommates and my roommates eat too, Grace said as a matter of course. All right then, but I have to keep 2 bags of chips, Ethan immediately shouted. Keep dreaming. At most, I'll give you 2 jellies. Grace raised her chin and refused. Ethan. Little Gracie, you're just too good to me. Grace turned her head, rubbed her little fist, and said, Dear Lord Ethan, is there a hidden meaning in your words? What? Got an opinion about me? Hearing this, Ethan already sensed something wrong. As long as he said yes, Grace's deadly cross-lock would be unleashed. He gave a dry laugh, then said seriously, How could I have an opinion? Absolutely not. That's more like it. A wise man submits to circumstances. Grace smiled smugly. Ethan stopped and asked, Little Gracie, were you jealous just now and deliberately opposing me? Grace pouted, refusing to admit it. No. Ethan put down the bag in his hand, suddenly grabbed her shoulders, and turned her to face him. Still stubborn? You clearly were. Come on, is this princess that kind of person? Yes. Grace. Teach, this princess won't take it to heart. Hee, still won't admit it. I want to see if your mouth is really that hard. Huh? What do you want to do? Grace was stunned, looking at Ethan in astonishment. The next moment, Ethan pulled her into his arms and kissed her. MMPH. Grace's eyes went wide instantly, caught off guard by the kiss. Autumn leaves rustled down, tracing graceful arcs in the air. The two, embracing and kissing, stood under the tree. At this moment, it was as if they were cut off from the world. It seemed only the two of them remained in the world, only able to feel each other. Sunlight filtered through the gaps in the leaves, the Tyndall effect creating beams of light that shone on them, forming patches of light. In the distance, two girls walked and chatted, their figures appearing at the end of the road. Out of the corner of her eye, Lucy saw the two under the tree and suddenly stopped, stunned. Lucy, what's wrong? The girl with glasses beside her asked in confusion, seeing her stop. Lucy snapped back to reality, her expression a bit strange. She forced a smile and said, "Nothing, let's go." "Ha, did seeing that young couple make you a little envious?" the glasses girl joked. Not really," Lucy paused and replied. "I know that girl. Her name is Grace Miller. She's our new campus queen at Illinois Tech. TSK, the glasses girl gossiped. New campus queen. Indeed, she is quite pretty." Lucy shrugged, not denying it. "I stopped looking. Let's not stare at the PDA. Come on, I'll take you to meet the other officers of our student council. When the freshman mixer comes around, you can go to them if you have any issues," the glasses girl laughed. Okay. Thank you then," Lucy nodded with a smile. The two left. Just after walking a short distance, Lucy couldn't help but look back in Ethan's direction. That night, in the girls' dorm, Grace showered, wearing pink pajamas, humming a tune as she came out of the bathroom. "Gracie, you're in a good mood today? Did something good happen?" Dana asked curiously. "What else could it be? Someone is going to lead the dance with Ethan at the freshman ball soon." Sue put down her novel, crossed her legs, and smiled. Chloe sat up from her bed and teased. "I also know that someone kissed someone today. The red mark on Ethan's lip is the best proof." "Oh my, someone's heart must be blooming with joy, right?" Grace's pretty face blushed, but she thickened her skin and said, "That's very normal, isn't it? I'm for you guys envious? Or jealous?" Chloe giggled. "Of course we're envious, jealous, and hateful. Gracie, ask Ethan if he has any good brothers to introduce to us, will you?" What do you want?" Grace was stunned. "To stop being single, of course. What else? You wouldn't have the heart to watch us three live out these for years lonely and miserable, would you?" Chloe put on a pity-me expression. Grace said seriously, "I would." Chloe. "Gracie, you're truly the world's best bestie." Grace covered her mouth and laughed. "All right, can destiny really be introduced? If you don't introduce us, how do we know if there's destiny? Maybe that is a kind of destiny too." Chloe asked back. Fine, I can't out-talk you, the love master," Grace laughed helplessly. It seemed Chloe wouldn't let it rest unless she introduced some guys. "Oh yeah, Gracie, I count that as a promise," Chloe said happily. "By the way, Gracie, I saw Ethan and his roommate chatting with two girls today. Is there some story there?" Chloe asked with a face full of gossip. Grace rolled her eyes at her. "What story could there be? They're students from UIC, over here for an exchange." Chloe jumped off the bed, ran over quickly, hugged Grace's shoulders, and said, "I saw those two girls were quite pretty too. Gracie, you have to keep a tight watch on Ethan." Grace huffed. "What belongs to me, no one can take away. What doesn't belong to me will never be mine. Besides, I trust Lord Ethan. If he dares." Chloe laughed. "True. But, look, Ethan is kind of handsome, successful, and has a good personality. Someone so outstanding has a lot of charm. Even if he doesn't touch, there will be plenty of birds and bees around him. Anyway, you just watch out." Grace pouted and didn't speak. 2 days later, Wednesday afternoon after school, Ethan drove to pick up Wayne at the university. The Audi stopping at the school gate caused students exiting the campus to look sideways. Some even stopped to watch and discuss. "Wow, that car is so cool. Who's inside? Which family's heir? Don't know, never seen it. Probably not from our uni. I've only seen the city's top official ride in this kind of car. Could it be someone from above?" Looking at the driver, he doesn't seem old. He's young and handsome. Ethan rolled down the window, lit a cigarette, and smoked while waiting for Wayne. Knock, knock. Suddenly, a girl with heavy makeup, wearing a short dress and dressed flamboyantly, appeared at the passenger window. Ethan frowned slightly, lowered the electric window, and asked, "Need something, classmate?" The girl had a narrow face and some looks. She tucked her hair behind her ear and asked sweetly, "Hello, classmate. Can I have your number? Let's be friends." Ethan was stunned. He hadn't expected there to really be such open and bold girls. "Sorry, I generally don't give my number to strangers." Ethan smiled politely and refused decisively. The girl probably hadn't expected Ethan to refuse so decisively and stood there dazed for a moment. At this moment, a figure appeared behind her. It was Wayne. "Excuse me, classmate," Wayne boomed. The girl moved aside. Wayne opened the door and sat in the passenger seat. "Sorry, Ethan. Got delayed by something." Wayne scratched his head, embarrassed. "No problem." Ethan smiled, extinguished the unfinished cigarette in the car ashtray, and started the car to leave. Inside the car, Wayne asked, "Ethan, why did Leonard Miles from City Development Bank suddenly invite us to dinner? If it was just him inviting us, maybe there'd be other business. But since Liam Tate and Spencer Vance are attending too, then there's nothing else. It's just about the loan." Ethan smiled. Was the loan not approved?" Wayne asked. "It passed. I already received the text from the bank. The funds should be dispersed in a couple of days," Ethan said. "That's good. Then why are they?" Wayne still hadn't figured out their intention for this dinner. Ethan glanced at Wayne and laughed. "Tank, you can't see this? Looks like your thoughts are still a little too narrow. Since the loan was approved, we should be the ones treating. Them inviting us proactively is a gesture of goodwill, claiming credit, making us remember a favor. Since they're treating, I guess they won't dare ask us for those kickbacks directly." Wayne showed a look of realization. Then it must be because of what happened last time. If that's the case, they probably did it out of respect for Victor Vane. Ethan nodded and laughed. "Exactly. But if they don't ask for it, we have to give it proactively. Favors aren't easily owed. Sometimes, favors are more expensive than money." Wayne understood the meaning and nodded. "I got it, Ethan. Learn something new again. If they didn't take the money, Ethan would always owe them a favor. If they asked for help with other things later, if it was simple, fine, but if it was difficult, it would put him in a dilemma. Helping might cost a greater price. Not helping would leave him with the image of an ungrateful person in their eyes, which might affect future cooperation." Ethan smiled slightly, stepped on the gas, and said, "Let's go. We'll withdraw some cash first." 2 hours later, 7 p.m., Lotus Lounge. Spencer Vance, Liam Tate, and Leonard Miles stood at the entrance of the restaurant. "Leo, did you bring the liquor?" Spencer turned and asked Leonard. "Yeah, McCallan. Bought 2 bottles," Leonard replied calmly. Made you spend money. I'll pay you back next time," Spencer laughed. "No need. Just 2 bottles of liquor," Leonard waved his hand. On the surface, he didn't seem to mind, but inside he was a bit annoyed. Buying 2 bottles cost over $600. Although it wasn't a huge amount, Spencer using his leadership status to make him buy it, and taking advantage of such petty gains made him unhappy. Just as the 3 were chatting, an Audi pulled up in front of them. The car stopped, and Ethan and Wayne got out. Spencer piled on a face full of smiles and went up to greet them. "Ha, welcome, Mr. Ford, Mr. Turner. Really sorry. Did we keep you waiting, Mr. Vance?" Ethan went up to shake hands with him, smiling. Not long. We just arrived too. Haven't had a drink with you in a while. Today is a happy occasion. We must not go home until we're drunk." Spencer greeted warmly. "No problem." Ethan smiled faintly. Then Ethan went to shake hands with Liam and Leonard one by one. "Hello, Mr. Ford." Leonard held Ethan's hand, a somewhat eager look in his eyes. "Hello, Director Miles. Sorry to trouble you all with my business recently," Ethan said politely. No trouble. We're all friends. Helping is what we do." Leonard instantly defined their relationship as friends. Ethan smiled non-committally. After exchanging pleasantries, the group went upstairs to the reserved private room. Everyone took their seats in the room. Dishes were served one after another. Leonard took a bottle of Macallan, poured it into a decanter, then served Spencer first, then Ethan. "Mr. Ford, taste this. New stock of Macallan. It sold out as soon as it was released. I only managed to grab 2 bottles. See if the taste suits you," Leonard invited. Ethan picked it up and smelled it. The aroma of the liquor carried a faint oak scent, drilling straight into his nose. He praised, "Not bad, it's a good drink." Top-shelf scotch lived up to its reputation. In the future, Macallan would sit on the throne of luxury spirits for a reason. Regardless of how good it actually tasted, just its status on the domestic dinner table was worth that much. And a $300 bottle now would be worth thousands in a dozen years, appreciating faster than gold. "Haha, come, Mr. Ford, I toast you. Wishing your career smooth sailing." Leonard raised his glass to invite, showing special favor. "I'll borrow Director Miles's lucky words. Ethan raised his glass to meet him. The two drained the liquor in their glasses. At the start of the meal, everyone ate and drank, chatting about interesting life events, not business. After 3 rounds of drinks, when everyone was sufficiently buzzed, Spencer suddenly spoke up. Mr. Ford, you should have received the bank's text notification, right? Yes, I got it. It's really thanks to Manager Vance's help. Come, I'll toast you individually. Ethan looked grateful. Easy to say, easy to say. Mr. Ford is too polite. Spencer narrowed his eyes and raised his glass to clink. After drinking, Spencer said again, Mr. Ford, you're quite familiar with Victor Vane, right? I've admired Victor for a long time, too. I wonder if there's a chance for us to get together again, like last time. Spencer's meaning was that he wanted Ethan to act as a middleman to help him build a connection with Victor. This was the trade for helping Ethan apply for the $600,000 loan. Spencer mentioning the loan first was also a reminder to Ethan that this was a favor. Yes, we admire Victor very much, too. Hope to make friends with him. Multiple friends, multiple paths, right? Liam chimed in from the side. Hearing this, Ethan understood Spencer's thoughts. Sure enough, they came to claim credit, bringing terms of exchange. However, Ethan didn't intend to use his relationship with Victor to repay their favor in this way. If he did that, what would Victor think of him? Anyone would feel uncomfortable about it. Whether to make friends with Spencer and the others depended on whether Victor wanted to or not. Countless thoughts flashed through Ethan's mind in a moment of contemplation. Then he laughed. That's no problem. Team Leader Tate is right. Multiple friends, multiple paths. That makes sense. When there's a chance, I'll treat Victor to a meal together again. This, when there's a chance, was very subtle. When counts as a chance was up to Ethan. It counted as agreeing, but was a vague answer that wasn't a complete commitment. However, Spencer's face lit up with joy. To his ears, Ethan had agreed. That meant he would have a chance to get closer to Victor in the future. Victor Vane, a prominent figure in the city's underworld. Not just anyone could climb up to have a relationship with him. Spencer raised his glass and laughed. Ha. Then thank you so much, Mr. Ford. On issues of funding, we will fully support Mr. Ford. Come, let's drink one together. The atmosphere was enthusiastic. Everyone raised their glasses together, celebrating the success of this exchange of favors. Ethan and Wayne stood up, nodded to the three, and drained their glasses. After sitting down, Ethan signaled Wayne with his eyes to take out the stuff. Wayne nodded, stood up to distribute cigarettes to everyone, and laughed. Come, drink slowly. Let's smoke a cigarette first. As they say, smokes and drinks go hand in hand. Wayne distributed the cigarettes. The three gave a lot of face, accepting politely and lighting up. Ethan lit one for himself too, glanced at the three, and smiled. To be honest, if not for Manager Vance's support this time, this loan might not have been approved. My heart is very grateful to you all. This sum solves a big issue for my company and saves me a lot of trouble. Needless to say, Manager Vance, thank you so much. Spencer waved his hand repeatedly, politely saying, I, Mr. Ford. No need for words of thanks. You treat us as friends, and we see you as a friend too. Friends helping each other is only right. Only right. Ethan had said these polite words many times and heard them many times, but on the liquor table, this kind of pleasantry to pull relationships closer was suitable and necessary. I'm very honored. Since the three brothers helped me so much this time, I must show my appreciation too. Ethan finished speaking and gave Wayne a look. Wayne understood, nodded, and took out 3 large envelopes from Ethan's bag. They were thick, white envelopes. Ethan took the 3 large envelopes smoothly, stood up, walked to Spencer, placed one in front of him first, then gave them to the other 2. Spencer glanced at the thickness of the envelope and couldn't help showing surprise. He pinched it to feel the thickness, and he had a rough idea in his heart. 2,000. He dealt with money a lot and used to count cash often. He knew exactly how thick $2,000 was. The envelope absolutely contained a full $2,000. Spencer had hinted to Ethan before that he didn't intend to ask for money, but he didn't expect Ethan to bring it anyway. This gave him a bit of a pleasant surprise. He originally thought this loan was purely a favor, a freebie to gain a connection. He pretended to be surprised. Mr. Ford, what is this for? No need, really no need. Yes, no need. Liam looked at the envelope with joy but still echoed Spencer's words, pretending he couldn't accept it. Ethan raised his hand and laughed. 3 brothers, this is just a little token of my appreciation. How can I let you work for free? I'd feel terrible about that. Brothers, listen to your little brother. Don't refuse. Whoever refuses, I'll get anxious with them. They could say no, but Ethan could not give. This was the principle of conducting oneself. paying back this favor. Even if Ethan perfunctorily handled the trade later, they wouldn't say much. Hearing Ethan's words, the three finally accepted the envelopes. Spencer laughed happily. Since Mr. Ford puts it that way, I have nothing more to say. Mr. Ford, you're a true friend, ha. Come, let's toast Mr. Ford together. Ethan returned to his seat, lifted his glass, narrowed his eyes, scanned the three, and smiled. You're too polite. In the future, I'll need you three brothers to look out for me. Everyone drained the liquor in their cups. The atmosphere in the private room was lively, full of laughter. The drinking session lasted from 7 in the evening until 10. Ethan checked his watch, feeling it was about time, and thought about finding an excuse to leave. Suddenly, his phone rang. He took out his phone and saw the number. A look of surprise appeared on his face. It was a call from Zach Bell. Ethan Ford answered the phone. Hello, Zach. Ethan, you asleep yet? I didn't wake you, did I? Zach Bell's voice was thick with exhaustion, but buzzing with excitement. No, not yet. I'm out grabbing dinner with some friends, Ethan said, glancing at Spencer Vance and the others before standing up and covering the receiver. Mr. Vance, you guys keep chatting. I need to take this. Spencer nodded, smiling. Sure, go ahead. Ethan returned the smile, turned, and walked to the end of the quiet restaurant hallway. All right, Zach. You wouldn't be calling this late for no reason. Good news. You really are a wizard, Ethan. So does good news. Zach laughed. Ethan lit a cigarette, took a drag, and exhaled a plume of smoke. Spill it. What's the word? After burning the midnight oil, the tech team has finally pulled it off. Based on your product specs, IceQ zones and IceQ avatars are ready. I stayed up all night to finish the code and called you the second it was done. Zach said excitedly. He could feel that the launch of these two features was going to bring a monumental shift to IceQ. During the development process, he had realized from Ethan's product roadmap just how crucial these features were to the operation. He was eager to see how they would perform. Ethan felt a surge of joy. He hadn't expected Zach's team to be such grinders, finishing the code so quickly. It wasn't easy being a programmer. Long nights and tight deadlines were a recipe for premature aging and hair loss. Once the features officially launched, he'd have to make sure they got the credit they deserved. Great. That's excellent work. You guys really hustled. I'll head over to the company on Saturday to start the functional testing and arrange the update rollout, Ethan said happily. Sound good, Ethan. I'll wait for you at the office. We'll run code checks over the next 2 days. If everything looks clean, we could go live by the weekend, Zach replied. After chatting for a few more minutes, Ethan hung up. He gripped his phone, a confident smile playing on his lips. With these two features laying the groundwork, user engagement would spike. Once the user base was active, launching IceQ Premium would be a natural progression. The reason Zane King's previous attempt at a subscription model had failed was that he hadn't understood the sense of gain and the social attributes required for a membership. Launching a paywall without value just annoyed users. Now, with IceQ zones and avatars, along with the redesigned leveling system, the platform's functionality and social stickiness would be enriched. Once the social value was high, introducing premium privileges, satisfying the user's need for distinction, would make them scramble to sign up. To put it bluntly, early adopters bought memberships to show off in their social circles. IceQ Premium would turn their username red, gift them a batch of exclusive avatars, and allow them to decorate their zones. IceQ zones were like early personal blogs, recording a user's daily life. If you wanted to get to know someone, you checked their zone first. It was the first step for countless guys chasing girls back in the day. Unlike the core instant messaging function, the zone was a stage for the user. They could display their journals, photo albums, status updates, and share their daily lives. It satisfied the desire to share. Yes, the desire to share. Whether it was sorrow or joy, sharing gave it meaning. IceQ avatars introduced a virtual character image, adding flavor to the dull, monotonous chat windows. It allowed every user to customize or create their own avatar. Of course, the special items cost money. The free avatars were generic, but most people wanted to stand out. They would either buy membership or purchase virtual coins to buy accessories, all just to hear someone say in a chat, "Wow, your avatar is so cool." It satisfied that little bit of vanity. Ethan was an early user of these platforms in his past life. He had personally experienced every iteration and evolution. He knew exactly what a constantly evolving IceQ meant for the future. From start to finish, this product would remain the core of Arctic Systems, their ultimate stronghold. Ethan's lips curled upward. Now, let me lead the future of IceQ. A moment later, Ethan returned to the private room. Haha, Mr. Ford is back. Let's have another round. I toast to you. Leonard Miles was flushed, his eyes glassy, and unfocused. He looked about 3 sheets to the wind. Ethan checked the time. It was getting late. He raised his glass. All right, but let's make this the last one. I'm already nearing my limit. You trying to drink me under the table, Mr. Miles? By saying he was drunk rather than pointing out Leonard's state, Ethan was saving the man's face. Drunk people hated being told they were drunk. This was crucial etiquette at the dinner table. Leonard laughed loudly. All right, come on, let's finish this one first. They clinked glasses and downed their drinks. Spencer Vance, sitting nearby, caught Ethan's drift. He smiled. All right, we've had a good time today. Any more, and none of us will be able to get up tomorrow. As long as we're happy, that's what counts. Mr. Ford, let's take a break. Have some tea. Ethan smiled slightly. Sounds good. To look after Leonard and prevent him from making a fool of himself. Everyone switched to tea. Ethan sat in the room for another half hour, sipping tea until he saw it was getting very late, then stood up to take his leave. Once Ethan left, the party broke up. Spencer personally walked him downstairs and even had the restaurant's valet drive Ethan and Tank home. In the car, Ethan and Tank sat in the back seat. Tank, you need to come with me to San Jose early Saturday morning. Our product is ready. We're launching it this weekend, Ethan said, turning to the booze-smelling Tank. Tank was pretty buzzed himself. He paused, hiccuped, and then processed the words. Okay, no problem. I'll get my work sorted out on Friday. With Mr. Trent watching the West Ford Electronics division, I don't have to worry as much. Ethan smiled. Of course, Calvin is a veteran in this industry. It's settled then. I'll pick you up. Ethan made it back to the dorm just before the doors were locked. Otherwise, he would have had to find a hotel for the night. It was late, and the dorm building was quiet. The power to the outlets was cut at 11 p.m., followed by the internet, forcing everyone to turn off the lights and sleep. But when Ethan returned to his room, he saw a faint glow. Opening the door, he found his 3 roommates huddled around the desk, shining a flashlight on something. They were so engrossed, they didn't even notice him enter. Huh, what are you guys doing? Ethan asked abruptly from behind them. The sudden noise scared the living daylights out of them. Holy SHD, you scared me to death. Jason York jumped, nearly launching himself out of his chair. Damn, Ethan, are you a ghost? You walk without making a sound. Kevin Keg, O'Connor patted his chest. Ethan chuckled. You guys are just too focused. You didn't even know I was back. Yeah, Ethan, where'd you go today? You smell like booze. Were you out on a date with the missus? Jason asked with a lecherous grin. Wait, no. If you were on a date, you wouldn't be back tonight. Ethan rolled his eyes. Get your mind out of the gutter. I just had dinner with some friends. Do I look that desperate? The 3 of them nodded in unison. Yes. Ethan, you guys need glasses. Anyway, why aren't you 3 sleeping? What are you huddled over here for? Jason smirked proudly. We're picking up girls, obviously. Huh? Picking up girls? This late at night? Ethan asked, puzzled. Jason pulled out his phone. It was a Nokia 8210, one of only 2 mobile phones in the dorm. The monochrome screen displayed a text message. The sender was Lily. It's the weekend. I don't know where to go for fun. Staying at school is so boring. Ethan looked surprised. Not bad, Jace. You guys hooked up that fast. Jason grinned. Of course. Who do you think I am? They call me the Casanova of the coast. Smooth as silk. Ethan, you're the one picking up girls. Why are these 2 joining the fun? Keg put on a serious face. This is a learning opportunity. It's educational. Can you call education joining the fun? Yeah, we're both learning from Jason on how to get the girl. Sam Tucker nodded along. Jason, what does she mean by that? Is she asking you to go to UIC to hang out with her? Jason adopted the demeanor of a grandmaster, lecturing confidently. Wrong. She said she doesn't know where to go and that school is boring. That obviously means she wants to go out. She's asking me where I would take her. If the plan is fun, she'll agree. If it sucks, she'll reject me. Now, you 2 answer this. How should I reply to her next text? Keg immediately raised his hand. Me? I know. Go ahead, Keg. Keg grinned sleazily. A date means a big meal, obviously. Jason smacked him on the forehead, looking disgusted. Eat, eat, eat. That's all you know. If eating was all it took to get girls, you'd have a harem by now. Sam, you try? Sam Tucker scratched his head. He had 0 concept of dating. He hadn't held a girl's hand his entire life. Maybe. Probably go for a walk. A walk in the park. The scenery is nice. Jason smacked his forehead too. A walk in the park? Only you could think of something that boring. If you reply with that, you definitely won't get the girl. Sam, my friend, you need to modernize your thinking. Finished with them, Jason looked at Ethan, who was sitting by the bed, changing his shoes. Ethan, you're the only one in the dorm with a girlfriend. What do you say? Ethan slipped on his slippers and laughed. You think my Grace is like your Lily? Please. Besides, is she an average girl? Jason paused, then nodded solemnly. True, the missus is definitely not an average girl. But what if it were you? How would you reply to Lily? Ethan thought for a moment. If it were me, I'd invite her to a bar or a club. And before going, I'd tell her to bring her ID and bring a gift. The gift could be a purse or perfume. Jason's eyes went wide. Holy SHD, you're God. Ethan, you thought of the exact same thing as me. Our minds are totally in sync. Ethan shrugged, looking arrogant. Is it hard? Not really. Jason gave a thumbs up. Indeed, you truly have my style. Get out of here. I don't have your style. Ethan rolled his eyes, then added, I'm a pure-hearted gentleman. Jason snickered and turned to Keg and Sam. Hear that? Hear that? That is the correct answer. Forget eating and walking in the park. Have some creativity, will you? Watch. I'll reply just like that, and she'll definitely say yes. Believe it. Keg asked doubtfully, really? Of course. Ethan and I are geniuses who think alike. Jason immediately typed out the message and hit send. For a moment, the three of them huddled together again, waiting for Lily's reply. A moment later, the message alert beeped. It's here. Look, look, Keg shouted excitedly. Jason opened the message. Lily, I rarely go to bars, but since you're inviting me so graciously, how could I refuse? See you Saturday then. Oh yeah, nailed it. Jason cheered. Damn, that's impressive. Jason, you've got moves. Keg said admiringly. Naturally, the Casanova of the coast isn't just a nickname. Jason smiled smugly. He turned to Ethan. Ethan, you free Saturday? Want to join? My treat. Ethan saw right through his little scheme. You just want me to be your driver, don't you? Hith, you'll come with me. Jason scratched his head. I have to go to San Jose early Saturday morning. I probably won't be back until Sunday night. You're on your own, Ethan explained. Huh? Ethan, what are you doing in San Jose? Jason asked, surprised. Work stuff. Ethan didn't bother explaining further. Jason sighed. All right, looks like I'll have to go home and borrow my dad's car. Jason, what does your dad drive? Keg asked casually. Nothing special. Just a little Benz, Jason replied casually. Keg. Sam. Saturday morning. Arctic Systems, San Jose. In the Human Resources Manager's office, Danny had just turned on his computer when Xavier Yale knocked and entered. Danny, why have we hired so many front-end UI designers recently? Xavier asked as soon as he walked in. Matt gave the order. He said it's to support Ethan's work, Danny answered truthfully. Ethan was now the product director at Arctic Systems, responsible for the development of new IceQ features. He was also a shareholder. In their previous agreement, Ethan had secured some personnel rights from Matt Thorne, allowing him to recruit talent based on his product needs. Ethan is just an absentee landlord. What's the use of hiring so many people? It's been so long, and I haven't seen him produce a single viable proposal. If he doesn't change the current revenue levels soon, that $150,000 of his won't last long, Xavier complained, clearly dissatisfied. He was responsible for external relations. To secure policy support for the company, he ran around to various government offices every day until his voice was hoarse. He knew how dire the company's financial situation was and was striving to secure more resources. Yet lately, he found the company adding new employees. Upon asking, he found out they were all for the new product department, mostly front-end UI techs. The finances were already this bad. Not laying people off would be a blessing, yet they were increasing labor costs? How could this work? So, he came to find Danny first thing in the morning to get answers. Now, knowing it was authorized by Matt, he felt even more stifled anger. Danny shrugged helplessly. Matt gave the word. What can I do? Matt also said that since Ethan is here, we have to trust his ability and let him work. Xavier sat on the sofa, took out a cigarette, and huffed. Skepticism first, then belief. He hasn't produced anything. How am I supposed to believe? Our company's finances are barely holding on, and he's doing this without even telling us. Danny pulled out a document. He wrote a proposal called Suggestions on Flat Corporate Management. Matt has already approved it. He reports only to Matt, saying our interdepartmental coordination is too outdated and that it takes 3 to 5 days just to get anything done. Xavier's eyes widened. He hadn't expected Ethan to reach into corporate structural reform. What? What is flat management? I've never heard of it. The way I see it, he just wants to seize power. Xavier, you don't need to put it like that. It would be stranger if he joined the company and did nothing. Matt wants to see his operational style in action, Danny said with a slight smile. Why would Matt give him such free rein? Shouldn't he let him get familiar with our products and resources first? I feel it's too reckless, especially with the hiring. It's going to put even more financial pressure on the company, Xavier grumbled. Danny got up from his desk and sat on the sofa, trying to comfort him. All right, I know you mean well for the company. The reason Matt is letting him run with it is because 361 Guardian was a success. I think Ethan isn't without his methods. At least in software marketing, he knows his stuff. You might not know this yet, but 361's user base is nearing 1 million. Huh? What? That fast? Xavier looked bewildered. He knew Ethan's company was making a PC security manager called 361, but he hadn't expected it to grow so quickly. It was completely unexpected. Danny shrugged. Zach told me. The current 361 PC safety manager is estimated to have a 25% market share. Its main selling point is free security. In an environment full of viruses and malware, computer security seems easier to acquire users with an instant messaging. But think about it. How long has that software been out? If Ethan can grow it to that level, do you really believe he doesn't have a few tricks up his sleeve? Xavier paused, muttered for a moment, and then continued. You make a good point, but IceQ is different from security software. Not every marketing method is applicable. I maintain my view. Skepticism first, belief later. Also, I must suggest to Matt that for important personnel changes, products, and projects, the heads of other departments should at least be informed. That way, other departments aren't caught off guard. Danny smiled. Matt has already made arrangements. According to Ethan's plan, cross-departmental proposals will be discussed during the execution and completion phases, with multiple departments pushing projects forward together. Oh, I forgot to tell you. According to the timeline, this weekend is the launch node. Zach finished the internal testing of the 2 features a couple of days ago. Ethan is coming to the company today. Xavier was stunned. He hadn't expected Zach to rush Ethan's product out so fast. Fine. I like to see what he's made. Saying this, Xavier smoked his cigarette, his expression gloomy. Knock, knock. An employee knocked and opened the door. Manager Danny, Manager Xavier, Mr. Ford has arrived. Matt is asking all departments to head to the conference room for a meeting, a female employee announced. Okay, we know. We're coming, Danny replied, standing up. He turned to Xavier. Let's go, Xavier. The two arrived at the conference room. All the top executives of Arctic Systems, except for the finance department, were present. Zach, is your proposal ready? Matt Thorne asked calmly, turning to Zach Bell. It's ready. Done completely according to Ethan's project documentation. Zach connected his laptop to the projector. Xavier looked at the projected document. IceQ Zones and IceQ Avatars product marketing plan. IceQ Zones? IceQ Avatars. Xavier read aloud, looking puzzled. He still didn't understand what these products were from the names alone. Were they new content? Wouldn't that be too bloated? By the way, Zach, where is Ethan? Xavier asked, seeing Ethan hadn't arrived yet. He went to print some files. He'll be here in a second, Zach replied with a smile, looking expectant and excited. Just as he spoke, the door opened. Ethan and Tank walked into the conference room. Tank was holding a stack of printed documents, which he distributed to everyone present. Ethan walked to the front of the projector, scanned the room, and smiled. Hello, colleagues. We meet again. I'm very pleased that, thanks to the hard work of Zach's tech team, these 2 products have been completed ahead of schedule. Here, I must first commend Zach. He deserves the top credit. Zach blushed at the praise and said sheepishly, Hey, it was a team effort. You flatter me, Ethan. Ethan smiled. All right, we'll discuss rewards and merits after the project is fully rolled out. I won't waste words. This meeting has 2 main agenda items. First, to familiarize all departments with these 2 brand new products, to understand their purpose and the goals and effects we want to achieve. Second, I hope to mobilize the entire company's resources, integrating all marketing channels and methods, to get users onto these 2 products as quickly as possible and get them hooked, paving the way for our premium system launch. Hearing premium system, Xavier frowned and challenged. Ethan, we've tried the membership model before, and the results were negligible. You developed 2 new products just to continue with a membership model? Isn't that a bit risky? If the products fail, we'll have poured half the company's resources down the drain, and our funds will be depleted. Isn't the risk too high? His words were a clear vote of no confidence in Ethan. Direct distrust. Ethan retorted, You haven't even seen the products. How do you know they won't work? Whether they work or not, let the facts speak. Ethan signaled Zach. The projection changed, first displaying the product introduction for IceQ Zones. Before I explain IceQ Zones, I'll explain the IceQ Web Platform. In the future, most of our IceQ Web projects will expand based on this domain. The Zone product is one of them. It is the foundation for future lightweight web applications. The IceQ Zone product is designed to allow IceQ users to express themselves, satisfying their desire for display and attention, and increasing their presence in online social applications. Currently, the main features include personal profiles, zone decoration, status updates, message boards, stepping, visiting, logs, photo albums, etc. We reserve an interface for IceQ Zone games. In the future, we will build social games within the zone. Currently, we only have a nurturing game, a tree planting minigame. When users visit other people's zones, they can obtain fruit and fertilizer from the virtual trees in other zones, speeding up the growth of their own saplings. This game will continue to develop other tree types for users to choose from. Premium users can get special tree types for free, and the amount of water and fertilizer they can collect daily is doubled. In the future, we will launch IceQ Farm, Parking Wars, and other social minigames in the zone. Believe me, these minigames will sweep the entire internet. Ethan then detailed the specific pages and functions of the zone. The room was in shock and disbelief. They had never thought of such a product. It was too bold. Ethan, you have to understand, our core product is IceQ, an instant messaging software. We should be putting all our technical strength into that product, not developing this kind of platform or mini-games. Xavier's face turned dark, and he finally couldn't help but speak up. Zach countered, I think Ethan's logic is sound. Our core product is IceQ, yes, but we need to enrich the application, making it more fun for users. IceQ is instant messaging software, but it's not just software. It's a platform for personal social connections. Xavier shook his head in denial. That may be so, but we could do better in chat interaction instead of building this kind of platform. Anyway, I disagree. After Xavier finished speaking, a dead silence fell over the conference room. No one said a word. Matt Thorne didn't speak. Instead, he looked at Ethan, waiting to see how he would handle internal dissent. Since he and Xavier were close, Xavier was an original partner. It was awkward for him to speak up on Ethan's behalf. Ethan simply gave a relaxed smile. Xavier, this is a project discussion meeting, not a project approval meeting. You need to understand that. Huh? Xavier's eyes widened in surprise. He hadn't expected Ethan to say that. Others were stunned too. This was clearly saying, the project is already approved and built. Your veto now is useless. Danny was startled. Ethan plays hardball. Even Matt couldn't help but raise an eyebrow. Coming from Ethan, those words were domineering, completely disregarding Xavier's feelings. You. Xavier flushed red with anger, but after spitting out one word, he didn't dare to completely fall out with Ethan in front of everyone. Ethan continued smiling. This project has been reviewed by me, Zach, and Matt. It has already passed the internal testing phase. It's launching today. If we kill it now, wouldn't all our work during this time be in vain? Zane King couldn't help but nod in agreement. I think Ethan is right. I've looked into this project. From an operational perspective, it indeed has significant feasibility. Zane, you too? Xavier looked at Zane in shock. He hadn't expected Zane to back Ethan. Zane looked resolute and added, when it comes to work, I think if something benefits the company, we should do it. Ethan gave Zane an appreciative look. While Zane's operational skills weren't top tier, his attitude was the best, focused on the task, not the person. I don't want to discuss this further. Next, we should discuss the launch and promotion. I'll continue by introducing the design for IceQ avatars and IceQ levels. The projection changed, showing the content for avatars and levels. Ethan introduced, IceQ avatars are chat display content, a personal virtual image display. Users can customize their personal image through the avatar platform. Ordinary users can have some free outfits, but premium users can own more special, beautiful outfits. The member's personal virtual image, the red username, plus the membership level bonuses and zone privilege unlocks, form a comprehensive suite of premium rights. What we need to do is display the premium status in every aspect. Every aspect. Let premium users understand that owning IceQ Premium is prestigious and glorious. This is the new membership leveling system I designed. We're canceling the numeric level display and adopting a 4-tier system: stars, moons, suns, and crowns. And the level will no longer be hidden in the personal profile, but displayed on the main panel alongside the membership badge. The projection showed the IceQ level display. Zane couldn't help but clap, shouting his approval. This feature is great. Why didn't I think of this before? Ethan truly has a brilliant mind. Even Matt couldn't help but nod repeatedly after listening, acknowledging Ethan's membership theory. After Ethan finished introducing the entire project, he began assigning tasks. Zach, get the tech team ready to push the update today, Ethan ordered. Understood, Zach replied excitedly. Ethan turned to Zane. Zane, operations needs to prepare various copy for forum marketing and pop-up promotion text. This is a massive new update. We need pop-ups for all users. Done. No problem. I'll get my full support. Zane laughed. Ethan continued. I'll have the front-end UI team upload more avatar gear and zone widgets as soon as possible. Zach, coordinate on this. Danny, I need more graphic designers. Hope we can hire them soon. Danny made an okay gesture. No problem. Ethan continued to supplement with specific tasks and interdepartmental coordination, but he didn't assign any work to Xavier. Xavier sat with a cold face, silently spinning his pen on the table. He was responsible for external relations. Reason told him not to make things too stiff with Ethan. He wanted to leave some leeway. If there was work, he would do his best. But he hadn't expected Ethan to not assign him anything. Everyone clear? If so, meeting adjourned. Let's get to work, Ethan said decisively. Matt reminded him. Ethan, what about Xavier's work? Ethan pondered for a moment. There's indeed work for Xavier, but not right now. Let's put all our energy into the product launch first. He will have very important work later. Matt paused, then understood Ethan's meaning. He intended to leave Xavier out in the cold for a bit, a sign of dissatisfaction with Xavier's attitude earlier. However, he didn't speak up, nor did he plan to defend Xavier. Xavier looked up at Ethan and responded indifferently. Oh, I understand. I'll await your instructions anytime, Ethan. Ethan replied calmly. You'll get them. Seeing the atmosphere was a bit tense, Matt quickly smoothed things over with a laugh. All right, today everyone launches the product, and tonight I'm treating everyone to a gathering. After a successful launch, it's a celebration banquet. Hey, awesome. Long live Matt. Can we have seafood? Zach asked with a laugh. Of course, no problem. I estimate we'll be done around 8 or 9. It'll be a late-night supper. Let's do a seafood grill, Matt said generously. Oh yeah. Cheers erupted in the conference room, and the atmosphere livened up again. Ethan smiled. Matt certainly had leadership charisma. After the meeting, Ethan and Tank went to the break area for smoke and tea. Ethan, that Xavier guy seems to have a problem with you, Tank whispered while smoking. I can tell, but his problem doesn't matter. Ethan smiled calmly. Tank thought for a moment and leaned in closer. How do we handle him in the future? I feel like Xavier is a bit arrogant. He doesn't respect you. Ethan narrowed his eyes, a cold glint flashing through them. If the opportunity arises, we just kick him out. Ethan, he's a founding member. Kicking him out won't be easy, right? Tank asked in a low voice. Ethan sneered. There are plenty of ways. If he wanted to control Arctic systems, he had to gradually remove Matt's people, preferably replacing them with his own. Of course, winning them over was best, like Zach Bell. Once the Valuation Adjustment Mechanism, VAM, agreement was fulfilled, he could control the internal personnel appointments and management rights of Arctic systems. The corporate struggle involved could be perilous. Matt Thorne didn't seem like an easy opponent either. Ethan had to tread carefully. Crucially, at the key moment of the VAM, he couldn't let Matt steal the fruits of his labor. Right now, all the Arctic Systems executives were trying to improve the company's financial situation. Since Ethan had the ability to do that, they wouldn't act rashly. He just worried that after the success, Matt might burn the bridge after crossing it. Ethan always assumed the worst intentions in others to guard against the unexpected. Yeah, I believe in you, Ethan. Tank laughed softly. He believed that anyone who crossed Ethan would end up in a bad spot. Without exception. As they chatted, Zach Bell walked over. Ethan, we're ready to update. Is there anything else I need to check? Ethan stubbed out his cigarette and stood up with a smile. I'll go take a look. Ethan went to the tech department. On Zach's computer, he saw the latest version uploaded to the server backend. They just needed to push the update, and the user end would receive the notification. This was a major version update. Besides the two products, there were the premium system and the level system. Ethan's first steps in changing IceQ. Checking the update package, Ethan noticed the installer was nearly double the size of the previous version. He frowned. Looks like the compression tech is still lacking. This needs an update. With users on dial-up or slow DSL speeds of 10 or 20 kilobytes per second, downloading such a large installer takes too long. Next time, switch to a virtual installer. Upgrade the compression technology. Let it download in the background during idle computer time. When the update notification appears, the user can click upgrade, and it'll happen instantly. Ethan's words left the other tech staff dumbfounded. They hadn't thought of that solution. Brilliant. Zach was shocked. Holy cow, Ethan, that tech is genius. Yes, we'll definitely use that for the next version. In his heart, he was thoroughly convinced by Ethan's technical mindset. Coding skills were just tools. Excellent internet technical thinking was what defined a programmer's ceiling. Clearly, He could feel the gap between his thinking and Ethan's, and he admired him secretly. Ethan smiled. All right, check's complete. Push the update. After the update, keep an eye on the login data and retention time for the IceQ web platform, as well as the premium growth data. Report anytime, Ethan ordered. Will do. Zach nodded heavily. He immediately operated the backend to upload the update and push the message. Users would receive the update notification as long as they were online. Sure enough, just after he pushed it, an IceQ client on a nearby computer popped up with a new version information. Users could choose to update immediately or later. The push message would go out at different times throughout the day. Download and install normal, a programmer in a plaid shirt shouted excitedly. Arctic Systems used a dedicated network line with high speed, so the new version updated quickly. Opening the new IceQ, the interface was no longer a dull gray-white, but a bright blue. Although the color looked a bit cheap, it was the result of Ethan optimizing the palette. Mainly because current graphics card performance was low, using very detailed colors would make IceQ load sluggishly. Ethan could only gradually optimize the details of IceQ under the existing hardware constraints. Ethan, IceQ zone opens normally. Server response normal. The plaid shirt programmer continued to report. Ethan smiled confidently. Watch the backend. If a massive number of users flood in, it might affect server performance. Okay, the programmer replied. Ethan patted Zach on the back. All right, you've been busy for days. Now that the product is live, relax a bit. Go grab a coffee. Zach looked tense. He laughed bitterly. Ethan, how can I have the mind to drink coffee right now? The success of this update decides the life or death of the company. Ethan shrugged. He wasn't worried at all and wanted to make a coffee for himself. Just then, Matt Thorne and his group walked into the tech department. They had all received the new version push. I've got the new version. What's the situation? Any user feedback? Matt asked sternly. Matt, we just pushed it. No specific data yet. We'll know in a bit, Zach replied. Okay, keep watching. Matt nodded, then turned to see Ethan and Tank leisurely drinking coffee. Is Ethan not nervous at all? Is he that confident? Xavier spoke up indifferently. Ethan, the new version is live, and there's no movement yet. You still have a mood to drink coffee. Everyone in the company was tense, their hearts in their throats, except for Ethan. Xavier hated Ethan's attitude the most. It felt like he treated company matters as child's play, completely nonchalant. Could work be done well like this? Nervous? Why be nervous? The version is updated. It's time to rest. This coffee is really good. Smooth texture. As expected of a foreign instant brand. Ethan took a sip and praised. Xavier snorted quietly, expressing his dissatisfaction without wanting Ethan to hear. Just pretending. When you can't produce results later, let's see how you explain yourself. Ethan, I've started the network-wide promotion according to your plan. All major chat rooms and forums have been engaged, Zane reported. Good. Now we wait. Wait for the user and market feedback. Ethan nodded. Suddenly, Zach shouted, Bad news. The web server seems to be having issues. Data isn't refreshing. Ethan let out a soft and went over to look. Let me see. Ethan operated the server backend. Sure enough, it was stuck and couldn't load data. Maybe there's no data, Xavier said sarcastically from the side. Ethan chuckled. It's just traffic congestion impacting the server. His fingers flew across the keyboard. A moment later, the server's traffic limiter backend restored control and the data refreshed. The next second, Zach stared at the numbers on the screen, his jaw dropping in shock. Holy cow. IceQ Zone has over 89,000 users logged in. What? Hearing this number, everyone on the scene was in disbelief, their expressions shocked. How was that possible? It just launched. Xavier was dumbfounded. Xavier squeezed to the front of the crowd to see the data for himself. When he saw the number of logged-in users on the server backend, he was completely stunned. He hadn't expected IceQ Zone to be so popular the moment it went live. Matt saw the screen too, and he couldn't help but reveal a look of excitement. It worked. Ethan really pulled it off. Huh, good, very good. To be so popular upon launch, we can definitely operate this. Next, we should consider premium monetization, Matt laughed. Ethan nodded and smiled. Yes, once users experience the new features and the zone, IceQ Premium will grow naturally. Adopting a recurring subscription model will bring us ample cash revenue. With that, Ethan stood up, patted Zach's shoulder, and smiled. Zach, it's up to you guys now. Okay, don't worry, Ethan. I'll monitor it. Zach replied solemnly. An employee ran in excitedly. Manager Zane, our posts have been pinned by several forums. Discussion heat is skyrocketing. Great. Keep pushing. Are the keywords up on Baidu? Zane high-fived him excitedly. They're up. and we're in contact with Baidu. They promised to provide traffic support, the young employee replied. Good. Zane laughed happily. At this moment, a wave of IceQ fever was sweeping through the Chinese internet. Almost every netizen was discussing IceQ. In a female dorm at Illinois Tech, Grace Miller was browsing a forum on her computer. Suddenly, Chloe Jones shouted in surprise, "Wow, IceQ updated. It's a huge version update." Did it update? Grace noticed a small pop-up in the bottom right corner, the update notification. It really did. But what's the use of updating? If I update, you guys will probably lose connection, Grace said. She didn't choose to click update because the campus network was unstable and slow. Downloading updates hog bandwidth, making everyone else's internet slow and laggy. Grace, you really have to update this version. Come look, it even has the IceQ zone. Chloe beckoned. IceQ zone? What is that? Grace looked puzzled and stood up to take a look. She walked over to Chloe, who was curiously exploring the IceQ zone. It had decorations, message boards, status updates, and logs, plus tree planting. Upon refreshing, she could see friends' updates in the zone at a glance. Oh my god, Brittany from class seems to be dating Luke. Look at their status, and they even changed a couple avatars. They're definitely together. I'm gonna check their zone. Hee hee. Chloe looked gossipy as she clicked into her classmate's zone, though unfortunately, it was mostly empty. The version had just updated, so not much had been used yet. However, Chloe found an apple sapling in Brittany's zone, where she could steal a bag of fertilizer and a bottle of water. Waha! I'm stealing this to grow my own sapling. Chloe laughed triumphantly, immediately returning to her own IceQ zone to water and fertilize her sapling, showing a growth value of +10. Grace watched with interest, surprised. That's actually kind of fun. It is fun, but there aren't many materials for decorating the zone. Most are for premium members. Should I open a membership to play? Chloe was very tempted. Open a membership? How much is it? Grace asked. I just looked. I think it's $5 a month. Chloe clicked the gray VIP text on IceQ, popping up the IceQ VIP benefit system. It listed various rights: upgrade acceleration, zone decoration, avatar outfits, and so on. Being a member lets you get 2 extra bags of fertilizer a day and unlock other fruit tree saplings. I'm opening it. I'm opening it. Chloe shouted excitedly. Grace found it interesting too. The rest was fine, but the IceQ zone was quite fun. You could interact with friends and classmates. And growing fruit trees was fun too. She had never seen a mini-game like this that interacted with IceQ friends. Wasn't this way more fun than chat rooms? Thinking this, she immediately went back to her seat and chose to update without hesitation. Scenes like this were playing out in cities and internet cafes across the country. Many people, seeing that the new IceQ was more fun, chose to update. Those with money conveniently charged up an IceQ premium and started decorating their avatars and zones. After recharging for membership, the VIP logo on IceQ would light up. In other people's contacts, their name would appear in red, and their avatar would be particularly eye-catching. This was the charm of spending money, making you different from the rest. 8:00 p.m. Other companies in the building had turned off their lights, but Arctic Systems was still brightly lit. All the employees were still busy. Under Ethan's coordinated scheduling, various departments worked together to promote the zone and IceQ in all directions. In the tech department, Ethan adjusted the server access limits, installed the enterprise version of 361 Guardian on the server, and finally logged out with peace of mind. Done. Everyone worked hard today. Ethan stood up and shouted at all the tech staff. Ethan, we're not tired. Right. Seeing IceQ take off makes us happy. Exactly. This time I finally see some hope. We can only say, Ethan is a beast. The tech staff stood up one after another, genuine smiles on everyone's faces, because they knew that this time, their hard work hadn't been in vain. Zach brought over the summary report, excited. Ethan, good news. Great news. Our concurrent online users for IceQ broke 200,000 today. The number of members skyrocketed from 130 to 35,000. Just today, membership revenue exceeded $50,000. Ha ha ha. This is the highest single-day revenue since Arctic Systems was founded. Hearing this data, the other employees in the office erupted in shocked uproar. Everyone was stunned by this result. Pride swelled in everyone's hearts. This massive revenue figure was their report card. Ethan was pleasantly surprised by the data as well. He smiled. Great. This revenue data is even higher than expected. Very good. Colleagues, being able to achieve such excellent data today, the credit belongs to you. This is also the result of our Arctic Systems working together with one heart and one mind. I believe that in the future, the near future, you can create even better results. Believe me, believe in yourselves. We can definitely achieve higher, faster, stronger. Under Ethan's encouragement, the employees were energized and applauded enthusiastically. Yeah, under Ethan's leadership, we have confidence. Right, we have confidence. Applause thundered. Everyone looked at Ethan with admiration in their eyes. Even Zach was no exception. The revenue model problem that had plagued Arctic Systems was truly solved after Ethan joined. As long as they had good blood-making capability, Arctic Systems could develop better. Ethan, thank you. Zach felt incredibly emotional and thanked Ethan specifically. Ethan patted his shoulder and smiled. Why thank me? It's what I should do. I should be thanking you. Without you, the product couldn't have gone live so fast and so well. The core, technical backbone, the pillar of Arctic Systems, is still you. Being praised by Ethan, Zach scratched his head in embarrassment. However, standing at the door, Matt Thorne saw the scene, and the smile on his face gradually disappeared. Matt's here. I haven't had dinner yet. Are we getting a big meal tonight? Zach saw Matt standing at the door and raised his hand to greet him. Matt forced a stiff smile and replied, Of course. Let's go eat together after work. Ethan, come along too. Ethan nodded. No problem. After work, the staff left the company one after another. The executives of Arctic Systems went to a nearby seafood restaurant for late-night supper. In the private room, everyone took their seats, and the waiter served tea. Matt sipped his tea and gave Xavier a look. Xavier looked embarrassed, but under Matt's gaze, he had to bite the bullet and stand up. Forcing a smile, he said to Ethan, Ethan, you worked hard today? I was out of line this morning. I shouldn't have been. Here, I'll use tea instead of wine to apologize to you first. For a moment, everyone's eyes focused on Ethan. Ethan didn't pick up his teacup immediately, acting as if he hadn't heard him. HM, what did you say? Ethan saw the others looking at him and turned to Xavier, asking with surprise. Xavier's mouth twitched a few times. I spoke poorly this morning and offended you. I'm apologizing to you, Ethan. Oh, it's nothing. You were doing it for the company. I understand. Skepticism is normal. Ethan laughed immediately and stood up to clink teacups with him. Matt smoothed things over with a laugh. Haha, see? I said Ethan would understand. Xavier's a good guy, just a bit stubborn sometimes. He focuses on the issue, not the person. Today is a very important day. It's the day our Arctic Systems achieved large-scale profitability for the first time. Everyone here contributed a lot. I believe our company will get better and stronger. Matt's words glossed over the awkwardness and boosted the atmosphere. Everyone couldn't help but reveal happy smiles. Tank glanced at Matt, feeling that Matt was deliberately downplaying Ethan's credit by not mentioning him. He was a bit indignant. Without Ethan, would Arctic Systems have today? But turning to see Ethan's calm face, he didn't say anything. The waiter came to take orders. Tank didn't hold back with Matt's money. He ordered various expensive seafood, lobster, red shrimp, grouper. Since he wasn't paying, he ordered without hesitation. Since Matt had said he was paying out of his own pocket today, hearing Tank order so much expensive seafood made him wince a little. Zach loved seafood barbecue, so he added quite a bit more, grilled mantis shrimp, grilled fish, etc. This meal wasn't going to be cheap. Ethan glanced at Matt's strange expression and couldn't help but smile. TSK, this little bit of money makes our CEO feel pain? Looks like Matt isn't that rich yet. Soon, the barbecue and late-night snacks were served. Seafood paired with beer, and amidst lively laughter, everyone began to feast. At the table, Ethan frequently toasted Zane and Zach. Come on, Zane, another one. Zach, don't nurse that drink. You guys work hard today. Here, I toast to everyone. I hope we all work together with one heart in the future. Ethan was charismatic and chatty at the table, completely overshadowing Matt. Matt liked to drink too, but his identity in the company was still that of a superior to the others. Only Ethan could sit as an equal with him. He had to maintain his composure, but Ethan didn't hold back. Matt downed a glass of beer alone, watching Ethan with his arm around Zane's shoulders, calling him brother. A glint of wariness flashed in his eyes. He patted his pocket, wanting a smoke, but realized he had forgotten his cigarettes. Xavier handed him a cigarette and whispered, Matt, it's stuffy in here. Let's go out for a smoke. He looked at Xavier and nodded. Xavier and I are going out for a smoke. You guys keep drinking. The two left the private room together. In the hallway outside the restaurant, Matt lit the cigarette and asked Xavier with a smile, What's wrong, Xavier? Still can't get over it. Xavier took a hard drag and said in distress, Matt, I just feel that Ethan treats us differently. How should I put it? It feels like he's not one of us. We've been brothers since before the company was founded. Now he steps in, and it seems he's warmer with Zach and Zane, and has nothing to talk about with us. Matt blew a smoke ring and said calmly, "It's normal. With Ethan's personality, maybe he gets along better with them. Especially Zach. He's tech, so he's closer to Ethan." Xavier was stunned. Why did it feel like Matt didn't care at all? "Matt, shouldn't we remind Zach and Zane who the outsider is?" Matt raised his hand to stop him. "Hey, Xavier, don't say things that are bad for Unity right now. Ethan is capable. He can bring huge revenue to the company. Arctic Systems will rely on him a lot in the future. However, I can tell you one thing to put your mind at ease. Arctic Systems will always remain under our control. That is beyond doubt. You don't need to worry too much. I know what I'm doing regarding certain things." Matt's tone was solemn. Xavier pondered for a moment. "Matt, pardon my bluntness, but if Ethan fulfills the VM agreement, the company might not necessarily be under our control." Matt chuckled lightly, confidence showing between his brows. "Is that so? I don't think so. Achieving 10 million in annual revenue? We're nowhere near that. This is just the first step." Xavier paused, not understanding what Matt meant. Did he want Ethan to succeed or not? Matt flicked the ash from his cigarette and smiled. "Xavier, don't overthink it. Just remember, trust me. As long as the brothers support me, the company is ours." In Matt's heart, there was only one thought. Let Ethan improve the company's profitability and get on the right track, and then ensure Ethan didn't stay in management. That was the result he wanted most, and the result that must happen. "Okay, Matt, don't worry. I'll definitely support you. I believe Zane, Zach, and Danny will support you too." Xavier said seriously. "Ah, good." Matt laughed heartily. Back inside the private room, Ethan took out cigarettes and offered them around. Except for Zach, everyone smoked. "Zane, Zach, and Danny, you guys definitely have to come to Chicago to hang out sometime. It's not that far from San Jose." Ethan smiled at the three, suggesting a trip. "Sure. I wanted to go to Chicago for a long time. San Jose is a food desert. I miss authentic city food." Zane responded happily. "I'll upgrade and perfect the 2 projects on hand. Then next month, I'll definitely make time for a trip. I haven't had a vacation in forever. Staying up late is making my hair fall out." Zach joked. After they agreed, Ethan turned to Danny. Danny hesitated for a moment, then declined politely. "I really want to go too, but I have a lot of work lately. Year-end assessments are coming up, plus recruiting. I can't get away right now. Maybe next time." Ethan narrowed his eyes at him and smiled. "That works too. This guy, sitting on the fence, wanting to sway both ways." Danny felt a chill under Ethan's stare and laughed awkwardly. "What are you guys chatting about so happily?" Matt and Xavier returned from outside, smiling. Zach grinned. "Ethan's inviting us to Chicago to hang out." Matt sat back down, smiling faintly. "Oh, that sounds nice. Once this busy period is over, everyone can take a break." Ethan extended the invitation. "Matt, you should come too." "Me? I don't know when I'll have time." "We'll see." Matt made a perfunctory excuse to decline. Ethan didn't mind. "All right. Anyway, if you guys come to Chicago, you're welcome anytime. Food and drink are on me." "Huh, that sounds great. I haven't been yet." Zach blushed, acting a bit shy. "Haha. Zach, when the time comes, I have to show you the world." "Don't worry. The ladies are very gentle," Ethan teased, causing the others to roar with laughter. The celebration dinner was lively, and they drank until 2:00 a.m. before breaking up. Ethan and Tank stayed at a hotel for the night, woke up at 9 a.m. the next day, and went to Arctic Systems to arrange the follow-up work. Upon arriving, Ethan went straight to Zane and Zach, handing over the subsequent product updates and operations to them respectively, telling them to contact him via IceQ or phone if they had questions. Ethan stayed at Arctic Systems for most of the day, leaving at 7:00 p.m. to return to Chicago with Tank. With Arctic Systems finally generating significant revenue through this operation, the company's financial situation had greatly improved, which gave Ethan peace of mind. He could let go a bit and let Zane and Zach handle things. As long as IceQ Premium continued to grow and members renewed, the company would have revenue, and he wouldn't have to worry about it collapsing. On the road back at night, Tank was driving. "Ethan, will Matt really be willing to let us succeed with the VM?" Tank was worried. Standing in Matt's shoes, no one would willingly hand over the company they founded. Ethan stretched and smiled. "Without me, Arctic Systems is just a tech company on the verge of bankruptcy. With me, it has value. Even if he's unwilling, it's useless. And I prepared a backup plan for the worst-case scenario. If Matt is smart, everyone stays at peace. There's no need to tear each other apart. If he isn't smart, he'll end up with nothing." "Huh? Ethan, what backup plan?" Tank asked, shocked. Ethan said faintly, "A way to kick him out. It's a bit complicated to explain, but I need to restructure Westford first. Tank was surprised. Huh? Restructure? Ethan, our company is doing so well. Why restructure? In his impression, companies that needed restructuring were mostly those on the brink of bankruptcy. Ethan shook his head. Our company is operating well, but we haven't done the equity architecture and top-level design. Once the company faces risks, our resistance is insufficient. That hidden danger exists. And as the company grows, we have over 500 employees now. Not adjusting the business structure is a serious hindrance to business development and employee promotion paths. I've been considering restructuring the company for a long time. I have a plan. I'm calling a senior management meeting in 3 days to launch it. Tank looked bewildered. He felt like Ethan was speaking English, but combined together, he didn't understand it. Ethan, I still don't get it. Ethan chuckled. I don't blame you. You haven't studied business strategy. It's normal not to understand. To put it simply, we are planning the company's long-term development. If we don't do the top-level design of equity and business architecture, a company can't go far. There will be limitations, and we won't be able to incentivize employee growth or provide a promotion platform. Hearing this, Tank finally showed a look of realization. I get it. It's like our current company is a fish tank with limited water and fish. Now we're preparing to switch to a bigger tank. Is that about right? So the small fish can become big fish, and it can hold more water. Ethan gave him an appreciative look. Exactly. That's about right. This restructuring is for the company's development, and likewise, for taking over Arctic systems in the future. 3 days later, Wednesday morning, Calvin Trent rushed to the company early at 7:30 a.m. He thought he would be the first one, but he saw the door open and the lights on. Who would be this early? Earlier than him? Calvin walked into the company suspiciously and saw Henry Payne walking out of the copy room with a stack of documents. Henry, you're early. Are you feeling better? Calvin quickly went up to greet him. Henry looked up and said calmly, I applied for discharge 2 days ago. After resting for so many days, I should put in more work. During his recovery, lying in a hospital bed, unable to leave made Henry itch all over. He wished he could go back to work immediately, or he'd get sick from idleness. After repeated applications and pleading, he finally convinced Valerie Vane to agree to let him out. That's good. One of our key generals is back. Huh? Calvin laughed happily. By the way, Henry, did you get the notice? Ethan said he's convening a major company restructuring meeting today. That's why I came early to prepare materials. Calvin put down his satchel and smiled. Ethan told me. Henry looked down at the cooperation materials for Keystone Corp, looking serious. Henry, guess. What kind of restructuring meeting is this? Calvin asked in a low voice, seeing no one else around. This was fishing for information in advance. Henry looked up, glanced at him, and said calmly, I don't know either. We'll know when Ethan arrives. I do whatever Ethan says. I never worry about anything else. True. Calvin touched his nose, smiling awkwardly. Soon, employees began arriving for work, and the senior management of West Ford gathered. Ethan and Tank arrived last. After sitting in the office for a while, they issued the notice to officially convene the major meeting. All West Ford executives gathered in the conference room. In a large conference room, all the executives were present, sitting upright with serious faces. Click. The door opened, and Ethan walked in holding a thermos in one hand and a briefcase in the other. Mr. Ford. The executives stood up in unison, looking at Ethan. Calvin looked at Ethan, his heart tightening. Ethan was wearing a black suit, walking with large strides. There was an indescribable majesty about him, a powerful aura. It seemed that in front of him was not a young man of 20, but a tycoon who had dominated the business world. Ethan walked to the head seat, pressed his hand down in the air, and smiled. All right, everyone's here. Sit down. Hearing Ethan's words, the executives waited for him to sit before sitting down themselves. Ethan looked around the room, cleared his throat, and said seriously, I called everyone here today because this meeting will determine the future development of West Ford. It is very important. It concerns a major restructuring of West Ford. I hope everyone can deeply understand and form a consensus. Now, I announce that the West Ford restructuring meeting officially begins. Ethan pulled documents from his briefcase and had Tank distribute them. Fiona, as the finance manager, look at my restructuring plan. Do you have any views on the financial aspects? Ethan turned to ask Fiona Hart. Every trade has its master. While Ethan understood some finance, he was far less professional than Fiona. Okay, Ethan, let me take a look first. Fiona nodded and browsed quickly. Others were also seriously reading Ethan's restructuring plan. In fact, the content of the plan wasn't extensive. It could be summarized as follows. First, in terms of corporate architecture, Ethan would adopt a group enterprise system, upgrading the current West Ford Technology Company to West Ford Group. Then, Ethan would indirectly control West Ford Group through the establishment of a third-party holding company or trust. This way, he could avoid various risks as much as possible, lowering potential liabilities to the minimum, strategies worked out by seasoned businessmen. If he wanted to be more rigorous, he could use offshore trust equity holding to control the company. Even if the enterprise went bankrupt and liquidated, it would have no impact on the actual controller. However, Ethan would continue to serve as the legal representative of West Ford Group, a reflection of his responsibility to all employees. Second, in terms of equity structure, Ethan would continue to use independent complete control and partial employee stock ownership. However, he would move executive stock ownership down a level to the subsidiaries. That is, West Ford Group would be the parent company, and other subsidiaries would be reorganized. The subsidiaries would be controlled by the group, plus subsidiary executives and employee holdings. This would maximize the enthusiasm of subsidiary employees. At the same time, establishing a group company would better allocate funds and resources, integrate and develop existing businesses, and implement rights and responsibilities in the subsidiaries. It would unleash more people's subjective initiative and provide employees with a larger platform and promotion space. In Ethan's plan, establishing West Ford Group meant setting up subsidiaries according to business attributes. West Ford Electronics Sales Co. for computer assembly and parts sales. West Ford Esports Co. for internet cafe operations and esports business. West Ford Technology Co. for 361 PC safety manager, software development, and game development. West Ford E-commerce Co. for the online e-commerce platform business, totaling one parent company and 4 subsidiaries. Fiona finished reading the restructuring plan, a look of shock on her face. After a moment of stunned silence, she spoke. Ethan, according to the restructuring plan, I suggest adopting a centralized, decentralized financial management model for the group. That is, the parent company controls fundraising, utilization, recovery, and distribution, adopting a bottom-up multi-layer centralization model. Asset usage is decided based on subsidiary businesses and projects. This effectively controls subsidiary financial risks while fully delegating decision-making space to subsidiaries, which is conducive to market competition. Ethan smiled. Just what I thought. However, I need you to produce a specific financial plan, preferably with advanced financial management content. I'll discuss it with you individually later. Yes, Ethan, Fiona responded solemnly. Ethan then looked at the legal department manager, Ross Lawton. Ross, what do you think? Ross smiled elegantly. I think the restructuring plan is great. Our enterprise scale has indeed reached this step. Only by expanding can we develop. Ethan, I agree with the plan completely. If possible, I can start the procedural applications today. The reorganization should take about 2 weeks to complete. Ethan nodded. Good. I think the rest of the legal department needs to start perfecting the group's legal documents, forming a system of internal legal files, sales contracts, strategic cooperation contracts, e-commerce contracts, etc. No problem. Within 2 days, I'll send a framework plan to your email. Ross smiled. Ethan smiled. He admired this about Ross the most. He always had a time limit for everything and always finished things well within it. Next, Ethan discussed the specific details of establishing subsidiaries for each business division with the others. The general business logic and plan remained unchanged, but communication shifted from interdepartmental to linkage between subsidiaries. This wasn't separation, but a need for better connection and mutual project support. For example, West Ford e-commerce needed to link more frequently and cooperate more closely with the technology company and the electronic sales company. At the end of the meeting, Ethan glanced at everyone and smiled. Now it's time for me to appoint the heads of each subsidiary. The conference room was silent. Everyone looked at Ethan with anticipation, curiosity, and excitement in their eyes. Ethan looked at Tank and said solemnly, I have decided that Tank will serve as the general manager of West Ford Electronic Sales Company. Tank stood up excitedly and bowed. Yes, Ethan. Oh no, President. I will work hard. In formal settings, Tank would use formal titles for Ethan. It was a rule, but he was just too excited and slipped up. Ethan didn't mind and smiled. Do your best. Tank was a good brother he grew up with, his most trusted confidant. Ethan had watched him grow step by step and felt he could shoulder this burden. Ethan's teachings over these days had allowed Tank to grow from a raw kid into a qualified manager, making great strides in how he conducted himself and handled matters. Yes, Tank responded, his voice loud, face flushed with excitement. Calvin Trent will serve as Deputy General Manager, assisting Tank in his work. Ethan looked at Calvin. Hearing his promotion, Calvin also stood up excitedly. Yes, President Ford, I will do my utmost. Ethan had no doubts about Calvin's ability. Since joining West Ford, he was always the first to arrive and had successfully negotiated with over a dozen suppliers, achieving outstanding results. His management level was also very high. Calvin was an excellent manager, careful, cautious, and not lacking in drive. Such talent was valued by Ethan. Ethan waved his hand, signaling them to sit down, then looked at Henry Payne. Next, Henry Payne will serve as the general manager of West Ford Esports Company, responsible for internet cafe operations and esports industry development. Yes, President. Henry looked serious as he stood to accept the order. Ethan smiled. Henry's personality was a bit introverted, but his work was flawless. He had never disappointed Ethan. Henry would put 200% of his energy into completing whatever Ethan ordered without any slack. Leo Zhang. Ethan looked at the technical supervisor, Leo. Leo froze, then immediately stood up. You will serve as the general manager of West Ford Technology. Your technical skills are the best in the company, and everyone else respects you. Ethan smiled. Leo was dumbfounded, looking at Ethan in disbelief, unable to believe his ears. Ethan, what? Me? Leo's eyes showed a lack of confidence. He was excited but also felt immense pressure. What? Don't believe in yourself. Ethan asked back. Leo took a deep breath, determined not to miss this opportunity. Thank you for your trust, President. I will definitely work hard to produce results and live up to your expectations. Leo clenched his fists and said seriously. Ethan smiled. Good, I believe in you. As for West Ford e-commerce, since there is currently a vacancy for suitable personnel, I will manage it concurrently for now. West Ford Electronic Sales will be responsible for specific operations and execution. The main personnel arrangements are as follows. Subsequent administrative personnel transfers and allocations will be the responsibility of Brittany Stone from the HR department. Brittany stood up and responded, Yes, President Ford. Finally, Ethan stood up, and the others followed suit in unison. I announced that starting today, the restructuring of West Ford begins. Immediately start establishing the West Ford Group. Morale was high as everyone responded in unison. Yes, President Ford. The wind was rising, and the clouds were flying. A giant ship of commerce was about to set sail. After the meeting, Ethan met with Fiona Hart in his office. Ethan, here are our quarterly financial data for your review. Fiona handed a stack of documents to Ethan's desk. Okay, sit down and let's talk. Ethan nodded and picked up the file to read. From the financial statements, 361 PC Safety Managers revenue currently ranked first in the company. Membership revenue reached 378 million renminbi, approximate $540,000, and this month had the highest growth rate, surpassing other business revenues at once. Secondly, computer parts sales quarterly revenue just broke 6 million renminbi, approximate $370,000. The results were also very gratifying, with online e-commerce sales growing more than offline stores. Finally, the computer repair business. Quarterly revenue just broke 900,000 renminbi, approximate $130,000. The new store repair business hadn't picked up yet, so there was still a lot of room for growth. With a total revenue of over 7 million RMB, deducting costs for goods, operations, and labor, the net profit was over 8 million renminbi, approximate $400,000. The profit margin reached over 40%, far exceeding peers. Seeing the data in the report, Ethan was very satisfied. From a monthly revenue of 1 million to over 2 million, they had achieved doubling growth, and the future growth space was still large. There was also an extra 4 million renminbi in cash on the books, loan from the City Development Bank. Currently, the funds available to Ethan were as high as 6 million renminbi, approximate $850,000. He could be called a millionaire. In the domestic context of a year 2000, possessing millions in assets was enough to be considered wealthy. However, 4 million of that was to be used to operate the 3 internet cafes. Next, the internet cafe business had to start operating. After thinking for a long time, Ethan suddenly said to Fiona, Fiona, I'll give you a summary of the group financial plan later. I need you to produce the group financial plan within 3 days. It must be implemented before the restructuring. Okay, Ethan, I'll be quick. Fiona nodded solemnly. Ethan smiled and said, By the way, I plan to increase some employee expenditures, mainly for the construction of a staff cafeteria, as well as a gym, recreation room, and restroom. I heard a company upstairs is preparing to move. I want to take over that space and put the staff cafeteria, gym, restroom, and recreation room there. However, we'll need to rent a restaurant space nearby first, hire enough chefs, prepare the food before mealtime, and then deliver it here. Employees can choose freely, buffet style. I want to provide free staff meals, breakfast and lunch, 2 meals. If there's overtime, there will be an overtime meal. Fiona looked shocked and asked, "Really? Do this?" Other private companies wish they could make employees work themselves to death, working from morning to night, aiming for the lowest cost and highest output. In society, forget overtime pay. There wasn't even extra food. Bosses always had one saying, "If you don't do it, plenty of others will." They didn't treat employees like people at all. There was no choice. The domestic labor population was too large. Countless young people flocked to the province to make a living. To survive, they could only swallow their anger and work hard. Social security policies started in '98, but only public institutions formally implemented them. Most private companies ignored them completely. Exploitation continued as usual. No benefits, no overtime pay. Most companies only had 4 days off a month. Taking leave meant pay deductions. Meal subsidies, travel subsidies, and other benefits were out of the question. But since its establishment, West Ford had implemented a normal 2-day weekend system. Work hours were 8 hours, overtime was paid, and there were considerable bonuses every month, plus various subsidies. Taxes were paid in full, and all employees had benefits. It was truly compliant. Ironically, compliant treatment had become top-tier treatment. This was why West Ford received hundreds of resumes every day. But Fiona hadn't expected Ethan to plan on continuing to improve employee treatment, and to such a degree. If these benefits were realized, West Ford could arguably offer one of the best compensation packages in Chicago, in a league of its own. Seeing Fiona's surprised look, Ethan smiled. "Of course we have to do this. The company is making money, so employee benefits should be improved. This is normal and proper. Did you think I was going to be a ruthless corporate shark, eating people without spitting out the bones?" Fiona snapped back to reality and shook her head quickly. No, Ethan. I think you are a true entrepreneur. Really, I've never seen anyone care for employees like you. The treatment you give us is already very good. I and all the staff are very grateful to you." Fiona spoke earnestly and solemnly, completely from the heart. Fiona believed that searching the entire city, very few companies offered such treatment. Ethan was truly a boss with a conscience. Receiving Fiona's praise, Ethan just smiled. The country is rebuilding. Everyone should make their own contribution to the nation in this era. I am no exception. This is my original intention in running a business. It has never changed. Fiona was shaken. After a long time, she spoke, "Ethan, as long as you need us, we will follow you. After all, finding the right boss isn't easy. Thank you for your trust." Ethan smiled. The two smiled at each other. 2 days later, Friday afternoon, the freshman welcome dance was held in the basketball arena. Before school was even out, many people had already arrived. Student council members hung banners on the walls, along with many colorful lights. The lights flashed with neon colors. Many new male and female students were already practicing in the arena. The scene was lively, buzzing with voices. "Ethan, it's so lively today. So many beauties." Kevin Keg O'Connor squatted on the sidelines, scanning the girls in the arena. His expression was a bit wretched. No, very wretched. Keg always had this expression when he saw beautiful women, but he only had the guts to look, not to act. No matter how good-looking, they're not as good-looking as my Grace. Ethan smoked a cigarette, texting Grace without looking up. "Me too. No matter how good-looking, they're not as good-looking as my Lily." "I'm not looking," Jason York said seriously. Ethan glanced at him and laughed. "Oh ho, in just a few days, you've turned into a pure-hearted little boy." "Of course. Right now, in my eyes and heart, there's only Lily. I can't hold any other woman," Jason said affectionately, looking like a devoted lover. Keg said with relief, TSK, Jason has grown up. This is good." Sam Tucker echoed from the side. "Jason settling down. That's rare." Ethan sneered, then suddenly shouted, "Look quick. 10 o'clock. Check out the rack on that one." Where? Jason snapped his head in the direction of Ethan's finger, revealing his true nature. "Keg. Sam." The two said in unison. A leopard can't change its spots. As the four friends chatted, Ethan's phone suddenly rang. It was Grace. "Hello, Grace. Are you here?" Ethan asked. "Not yet. I'm still in the dorm. Still putting on makeup. I wanted to tell you I might need a little bit more time. Grace's crisp voice came from the other end. Ethan twitched his mouth. Right? When a woman says she needs a little time for makeup, it means a lot of time. It's okay. Take your time. I'll go buy some snacks. Ethan laughed helplessly. Okay. Remember to buy me some snacks. Also, remember, you are not allowed to hit on other girls. Grace joked. Ethan feigned surprise. Grace, why are you so domineering? How am I domineering? You occupy my heart all day, and you say you aren't? The sound of water spurting came from the other end of the phone. Jason, listening from the side, instantly got goosebumps all over his body.